I'll call this meeting of the Public Site and Building Commission to order at 7:01. And do we have a flag?
Yep.
Our flag. Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States of America
States
and to the republic for which it
to
stands,
the
one
republic
nation,
which stands, one nation,
one nation,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
and justice for all.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Okay. I don't have an agenda. I'll do it because it's a regular meeting. I'll kind of do it from memory. So public input. Do we have any public input? Going once, going twice. No public input. And then for correspondence, everything that we have, I don't think there's any additional correspondence other than what we have of our meetings, reports and et cetera. So we can move on from that. And then we have to approve meeting minutes from our special meeting of December 15th, 2020. So I'll make that motion to approve the special meeting minutes from our meeting of December 15, 2020.
I'll second it.
David Horvath seconds. Everybody's had a chance to look through. I don't have any changes or anything that needs to be updated. I don't know if anybody else noticed anything. We are good. So let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Done with that. I now have my agenda up. So we're on to our school projects, and we have a report from, I don't know if we're going to have, we don't have a written report from Rizzo. The only thing that we did receive was an updated schedule, and I don't know if that schedule is still what the schedule is going forward, or whether there are any changes on that. If there are, you're going to have to send it to us. So, and do you have a construction progress and schedule update for us?
Yes, for Rockwell, the gym floor final coat is going down tomorrow, and the game lines are going on Thursday. And then they're going to be doing the stage floor on Monday. We're going to be doing VCT, the 3 rooms that are remaining. We'll be completing those late this week, early next week. And the roof edge is getting close to completion. They added more guys last week, so we're pretty close to the roof edge being complete. And the bus canopy unit ventilator will be going in tomorrow. So we're waiting on the ceiling, insulated glass ceiling. The frame is being fabricated, and we expect that early next week to be installed, so we can get that the temporary wall down and the flooring finished and get that completed. I'll move to Johnson. Yes.
Just what's the update with the second floor bathroom? Like, what was the resolution? When is it going to be fixed?
Okay, we got the sketches today, and the steel contractor is getting the material and the lead time for the decking. He's getting he has to get the right decking that matches. So he's going to be meeting with me tomorrow. We're gonna go over it. doesn't have a lot of options because it's not decking that meets anything they make nowadays. So he's gonna be procuring that, and I'll have those dates tomorrow. And then, you know, the concrete guy has a little bit of rebar, but that's nothing that he can't get off the shelf. So it's gonna be dependent on the decking. So hopefully I'll have that answer tomorrow for you.
Do they have to go through, do they have to go through the ceiling to fix it? Oh, no,
No.
Joe? Okay.
No, we spoke to the structural engineer and once we looked at it last week and sent him pictures and reviewed everything with him, we were able to do everything from the second floor.
That's great. So it's
So-
probably going to be a couple weeks to get till it gets done.
So Dr. Carver, to answer the question, what we really need to do is get our concrete sub in there to go over how we're going to temporarily support the decking in there. He's really going to be the one that drives what we need to do. But the hope is that we can do everything from up above on that slab. And then from there, we should be able to schedule, you know, how much time do we need to get, you know, we might have to do this over the course of several nights or over the course of several weekends.
Okay.
So it's always going to be obviously done when school is in session, when there aren't any kids there, et cetera.
Correct. Yeah, there can't be anybody in the school.
Right. Okay. So what else you got, Ken, for Rockwell? I know somebody jumped in and asked about that. So anything else?
Nothing other than the punch list work that we're going through, and we know that we got Monday coming up and this weekend, so that's what we're also working on for Rockwell.
Anybody have,
Alright. Go ahead.
anybody have questions for Ken? There were a number of things that came up during the walkthrough, and I don't know if any of those need to be, John Perna had asked about a couple of things, and I think I would, the three of them were from Rockwell, and I just thought I'd bring them up because I'm not sure if they're going to be taken care of, or I think Bob Germanaro and a few others were with John on that part.
Yeah, I could speak in detail if you want.
Okay, yeah, because you were there and we were part of the discussion. So I just have what John sent in the email.
Okay. In reference to the floor, the epoxy floor proposal he's asking for behind the kitchen, which is basically receiving area from the loading dock where the food will be coming in. Right now it's bare concrete. And he indicated, I believe Jim indicated that Laura had an issue with it and about having the raw concrete. And so what John has suggested is that we look to epoxy that entire walkway into the back of the kitchen to include in front of where the new custodial office is. This way here, it's all one floor and it'll be easier to keep clean. That was the first.
And Nancy, to be clear, that's over at Johnson.
Oh, that's not,
Yes, that's correct. It's Johnson.
oh, Johnson, sorry. So let's not do Johnson for now. Let's
Okay.
do Rockwell. So I thought he didn't say what school that was. He said that the epoxy floor. He said Rockwell boiler room. So maybe you can do that. The Rockwell boiler room, he talked about the circulating pumps needing to be repointed.
No, that's over at Johnson also.
It's also Johnson. All three of his items are Johnson.
Okay, well, he did put it in his email as Rockwell. So sorry, then we'll wait till Johnson. Anything else on Rockwell? I mean, there were a number of things that came up through, but I think everybody's got their lists from that.
What we did, Nancy, was we took our notes from Saturday, and also Terry was kind enough to send over a list. We've incorporated both of those into the overall punch list. So the update that we send to Dr. Carver will include those items.
Okay. So anything else for questions for Ken or Jim on Rockwell?
I have one question. Behind Rockwell where the bus loop is, and I know this wasn't part of the construction, but there was a large tree that fell down onto the bank. Who can we see about getting that out of there? Is that something that we should get Fairfield County Landscaping to do, or what? Or the town even?
Bob, wouldn't we refer that to the town, Bobby Dibble, and
Okay,
yeah,
okay, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just that, it's gonna sit there and rot away and it'd be a pain to mow and everything else.
Where, I actually didn't see it, John. Is it near the, up to, towards the bocce courts?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It fell down in one of the storms.
Oh, okay.
It's a Mother Nature thing. It has nothing to do with the construction project, but it's, it looks like heck, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, so Johnson,
Okay, for Johnson, the bleachers aren't complete and we're working with the subcontractors, got some parts coming in and we're hoping to have them for Monday. And the other part of the gym would be the stage floor material is due at the end of this week. They're putting the sheetrock back. They had to lower the partition track, which they did. And they also had to move the projection screen in order to do that. So that wasn't included in the proposal, but he came in and got that moved for us so we could finish lowering the partition track. And now we just have to re-sheetrock it, which was included in the other proposal. So that's coming. He's got a little bit work left to do there because he's got to finish putting sheetrock up and do some taping. So by that time, the flooring will be here and he can get started on the flooring next week.
Hey, Ken, will there be an extra charge for moving that screen?
There will be. That was unforeseen until they started, looking at what they're going to do with getting that partition track down.
And did we resolve making sure that we were getting power for those bleachers?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The R2 screen work for above the kitchen area is finishing up. They're almost finished with that work. The loading dock railings were just put in. And the secure vestibule frames are going in, the frames and the doors. And then we're then going to be proceeding with the contractors that follow the framing and the drywall and the steel, finishing the steel and the roofing. So there's quite a bit of work there that we have to do, but we have to wait for the glass to be installed first because the glass is really, really heavy. And he's got to get that in first. So they're working away on it. And I think that's it for Johnson, other than we have tomorrow for punch list work. They're there right now putting that top riser on for the stair 4 that they didn't have. There's that little nosing, I guess I should call it a nosing for the stair there. So then there's just various other punch list items that we're working on throughout the school.
so
That's it.
The schedule that you had put forward as far as completing items during the holiday break, you didn't get through all of them. Obviously, the Rockwell bathroom is just a whole different thing, but did you not get through all the items that you had planned for the holiday break?
We didn't do the bar joist support at the boiler room of Rockwell. He is coming out tomorrow to go over that with me. It's a pretty open ceiling there. It's not quite like it was over at Johnson, so I'll find out his schedule doing that, so that I was not able to get done.
And
And then the
was there not something scheduled for yesterday about a TCO or?
for we're speaking Rockwell, Nancy?
Either school. I thought there were some TCO things that were either scheduled to happen after the break or. Yes.
Just at Johnson, and I believe we're all set there with Chris and Tom. They've done their walkthroughs, and we've taken care of the items that they had.
Okay.
I believe that at Rockwell, they also did Jim, you could comment better, but the issues that Laura had.
Yes, that I walked her through there that night to show her. I'm not saying it's the end of it, but she seemed pleased and was going to write it up.
Okay, and then part of this on the agenda, this bullet says not just the construction update, but schedule update. And so what are we looking at for schedule? Are we looking at what you sent out, what was sent out to us, I think it might have been a week and a half ago? Or are we updating that?
I'll update it. There's a few updates I can provide.
Right now, Nancy, at Johnson, the thing that's pushed out in addition to the stage area will be the main entrance. So I think we're showing that finishing up the end of February. I think we're going to see every bit of that for that entrance at Johnson. I think the stage will finish up before that probably. Over at Rockwell, you don't have as many issues as you do at finishing up that back bus loop at Rockwell is really probably the latest thing. And I would expect that to be finished within the next 2 weeks, minus the glass, whenever they put that in, but we would have it open to the school.
And then obviously we have site work for both schools in the spring, in the early spring, that will still need to be completed also?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Along that line, if I could ask, the concrete gym at the back on the, around the amphitheater,
Yes.
is that something that's going to be addressed in the spring or sooner?
The repairs would have to be, the weather would be a little bit warm, but the cleaning off of it, we expect to have earth movers in there, whether it's tomorrow or Monday, to be over there to start scraping off whatever and clean it up.
Yeah.
But the repairs are temperature sensitive, so yeah. Any
Okay.
of the chips or anything like that would have to wait.
I think it would be good to clean it up. People are out there now seeing it.
Sure.
So if it is a visual thing.
Yep,
And,
we'll reinforce that. Yep.
okay.
Okay, so since we went through, is there anything else that you wanted to update us with Johnson, Ken, or Jim?
We can talk about John's items. We've gone out for pricing on the epoxy at the back of the kitchen there.
So the epoxy in that area was not included as part of the project?
Oh, no, what it is it's that at Johnson, they used a lot of the painted floor, the sealed floor.
Right.
It's an existing floor, so you'll see patches, you'll see things that, Laura wasn't too thrilled about that when I explained it to her. Depending on what the epoxy is worth, I guess you'd have a decision to make whether, it's obviously a much cleaner look, much easier to maintain as well.
Well, it sounded like what John was saying was that you wanted to have what's in the kitchen extended out into that area. Was that what I was, yeah?
Correct. Yeah, it's the same flooring material that's in your kitchen.
Okay. But that wasn't part of the original finish there. It was just supposed to be,
It's an opaque, like a painted, an opaque sealer that goes on the floor there.
okay, so that's supposed to be there, or this is,
Right, it was supposed to be a sealed concrete floor. It wasn't supposed to just be bare concrete.
okay. So, and that's what's going to be done. So that's part of the project, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But if you're gonna switch it to the epoxy, you shouldn't do the sealing first.
Right.
So are we switching it, or are we doing the sealer that was originally called for?
Ken is just chasing Mackenzie for some pricing. So as soon as we get that in, we'll let you know.
He's coming out tomorrow, take a look at it.
Okay. And I guess, John, Bob, you would have to answer this. John was looking for the epoxy and rather than just the sealer because,
Well, I don't believe John knew about the sealer, because I myself didn't know about that. So that's the first I'm hearing it.
okay,
Yeah, John and I had spoken about that when we were out there, Bob. That it
Oh,
was
okay.
that it was a painted sealer.
As long as it's better than just that bare concrete.
is that something that'll hold the sealer that's called for? Is it something that'll hold up to traffic deliveries every day, et cetera? Anybody?
Well, that was my question. Is that something we have to do every year, or is it something that is going to last long?
No, it's more durable than a clear, concrete sealer. At the back of Rockwell, that area is a VCT floor, which obviously would hold up better than a painted concrete sealer.
Wait a minute, so now you're saying it's a DCT floor?
He's saying at Rockwell
At
it
the
is.
back of Rockwell.
Oh, Rockwell. Oh.
The sealer, you're gonna see
Expensive.
a wear point
Expensive
after a while.
Wait, everybody's talking at the same time. Rich, what are you saying?
Well, just the sealer, you're gonna show a wear point, where everybody walks over a period of time. The epoxy is going to be much durable finish and easier to keep clean, in my opinion.
And Terry, what were you saying?
Well, if Rockwell has the VCT, would it be expensive to put the VCT into Johnson?
Well, so my understanding is the kitchen at Johnson has the epoxy, yes?
Both
Correct.
kitchens have epoxy.
Okay, so it sounds like what John wants to do is extend that epoxy
Okay,
out into the loading dock receiving area. Bob is shaking his head yes. What's going to be the most?
There's a small area right behind the kitchen, and then that leads right into the loading dock area. So it's a little different than Rockwell's setup. So there is an area right behind the kitchen that will be the same as the kitchen floor. It'll flow as the deliveries come in, as the people walk, and it'll just be a better situation. And Rich is right; it'll stand up to hand truck and forklift.
and it cleans easily because we're talking about food.
Exactly like the kitchen floor,
Okay,
same product.
So we want that, not VCT, and not the sealer that's called for. Bob, is that what
Well,
you're?
it's not my call on that, but I know within 3 years, I'll be having to do something to that floor if we just put sealer on the concrete.
Okay.
Nancy, were you suggesting doing the same at Rockwell instead of the VCT?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was asking, I'm still asking, be the best for not just keeping it clean, because as everybody has said, it's kind of in a way part of the kitchen, it's got to be kept clean, and what's going to last the longest time.
Right.
Let's get a price on the epoxy flooring and move off from there. We all agree we want epoxy flooring. We don't want tile. We don't want anything else. We want epoxy. Let's get a price and then move on from there.
But we didn't say we didn't want VCT. I mean, no one's,
I think the pretty much consensus. Well, that's how I look at it.
I mean, I think Bob's right, personally. I think
okay,
it would flow out with the epoxy and it would look nice. Not that.
okay. All right, so we're getting a cost to do that. And we're making sure that it's not sealed because that's gonna mess up doing the epoxy if we do the epoxy, correct?
Right, yep.
So the other things that John had is the wall behind the circulating pumps in the boiler room. You said you repointed?
All right, what that is that area was the old electrical and phone room. When they removed the wall to make the boiler room larger, they left raw block and mortar hanging out. So instead of sitting there trying to chip all that out, okay, it should be all just cleaned and repointed. It's a finish. It's right now it doesn't look finished.
Okay, I didn't see it, so I have to take your word for it. So
Right.
they're putting something together to find out about doing that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then I guess this is at Johnson too. Was it something in the vestibule? Did he have questions about?
Yeah, I was a little confused on that one. I believe it's the same item I was talking about with Dr. Carver about painting the windows above the ceiling line because the windows go up above the ceiling.
So what do you,
Yeah,
I believe that was what he was talking about.
yeah, it's where, like you said, it's where the vestibule, where there's a gap in between the window and the ceiling and you can see up above. So
Joe,
they're
did
talking
you-
about,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
What
Dave. I
is-
didn't mean to
What
interrupt.
he's talking about
Didn't
is the window that needs to be relocated up to get it out of the way of the canopy. That's what he's talking about.
Oh.
No, it's in the back, Jim.
Okay,
he said, no, because he said something about changing windows.
yeah.
oh,
So I think it is.
Just pulling up his email. The double doors with the canopy, still working on the Saturday.
Will the windows have to be changed? Right?
The answer's-
There's one window that's being removed and reinstalled to allow for the roofing. That's in the art room.
Correct.
Right. But that hasn't started, right, Jim, yet?
No, we got to get that deck on, something to work off of before we can get up there.
Yeah, that is correct. He is correct. I even know that.
The double doors and canopy still being worked on this Saturday. The layout requires moving or changing windows, question mark. Will this be an extra cost to the project? So it's a question.
Geraldine, I thought that was already dealt with. No?
If it's the front window, it is already dealt with, but if he's talking about something in the rear vestibule, I don't know what that might be.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
wonder why it
understand.
would be the front, because they haven't even started that work, so I wonder,
Yeah.
referring to something that was ongoing on Saturday.
This is the window in the art room, and what he's asking is, and what we're trying to do based on, Joe's suggestion, and it's not as clear cut as maybe we would want it to be, is because there's a window on the first floor that's in a location where an existing window was, as opposed to where the location is on the drawing, trying to get Massey to replace this window as a concession for that. That hasn't been resolved with Massey, or put to bed with Massey. That's what we're attempting to do, but I'm not sure that that's going to be the end result of that. Because it's not as clear cut as we'd like it to be.
Yeah, another thing at Johnson that I saw, I believe it was the art room upstairs. Two of the windows, that there was no sill on there, and the other windows in the room had the like, I guess, Corian type material sills. Are they going to be put on or replaced, or?
I added those to the list. I haven't had a chance to look to see it first that we're actually called for there, and then secondly to see what, how long it would take us to get sills made up for those.
Is that at Johnson?
Yeah,
That's at
Johnson.
Johnson, Joe, on the room on the left where the two high windows are. They're
Yeah,
perfect windows, but they just have the exposed block on the inside.
yeah, I believe all the windows typically have a sill.
So, and Joe, you haven't done your walkthrough for the exterior of the buildings, correct?
I did a preliminary one, God, when was that? Back in the fall.
Mhm.
So I'll have to do another walkthrough.
Because there were,
Final
we
one.
noticed that, I'm sure they're probably on your list, but we want to make sure they get on your list if,
Mhm.
okay. So, we're getting an updated schedule and work is progressing. Any other questions for Jim or Ken on construction and or schedule?
Well, there was some discussion about how the different groups of wires in certain areas of ceiling were to be left. And we didn't know that answer, and I think we needed Joe Collada maybe to look at some of those instances. It wasn't everywhere, but it was in a few places in the building.
Terry's
Yeah.
right. I think it was mentioned about there was supposed to have been wire trays or troughs going through there because the wires was kind of drooping down and.
Yeah, if it's for the technology wiring, yes, there's something in the specs and in the documents that details how that's going to be.
We'd have to look at that, Joe, because I'm sure they got approval to use J hooks in there, but we can take a look at that in the specific areas that, we'd have to go over that with Ferguson.
Yeah, I know when I went over that with D'Agostino, they said definitely that it had to be concealed. So that was part of their documents.
Well, so we're talking about the data cables, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, because they don't look good with the blue cables and everything else is black. Which reminds me, what is happening with the STEM room with the Geraldine, help me with the there's one unit that's just silver and everything else is black. It's in the ceiling. I don't know what it is.
It's the two fan caller units. The only thing we haven't gotten an answer is are we allowed to paint those, Dr. Carver? We can paint them. We'll have the painter paint them.
Okay. But everything else is all set in that room?
As far as I know, we're not making any more changes in there.
Okay. How do we know if we can paint them? Joe can tell us?
I would just want to make sure that we're not voiding some sort of warranty with the manufacturer. So we get something in writing from Action Air that they have no issue with those being painted.
Because Joe, if they can't be painted, I don't know. It's visually doesn't look good. Because it's like.
Right, if they can't be painted, then they'll have to be covered as per the documents, and then that could be painted.
Okay.
So there are some areas, Joe, that I think we just need coordination on as to what the best solution is for some of those
Okay.
ceiling areas.
In the exposed ceilings.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's only in a few spaces.
Right.
Okay. Was that on the list that Geraldine sent out to me?
I don't know.
Some of that was on that list I sent, yeah.
Okay.
But I think the data cabling is probably the bigger issue because we need to, if we're going to go back and look and see if there were J hooks approved, we need to kind of reverse that in places where the cabling is visible. It's one thing if it's above a ceiling,
Right.
but look at that one right away and pick up which areas we really need the cable trays in.
Because you can't paint it, right?
No, you cannot paint it.
Yeah. Even if you label it, you can't paint it. Okay,
No, I don't think you can label it and paint it. I think it has to stay
blue.
blue because it's easily picked out and easily discernible. If you had to label it and the labels fell off, how would you
Oh,
find?
that's true.
I mean, we're seeing right now that there's black components in the ceilings that have a big white label on them. I mean, at some point you kind of, defeat the purpose, so.
Right.
Your cable trays will keep it nice and neat.
Yeah.
Not droopy.
Right, because in some place it kind of hangs down lower than others. And so I think if you put in we have the cable trays, you know exactly where to go to look for it, and it's all in one level.
The reason I think all of it, Joe, has to kind of be looked at together so you can coordinate is, some of it, there's questions as to what's feasible. So I think it's got to be a coordinated item.
Okay.
Okay.
Question, was there a decision made as far as on Johnson, as far as resealing the floors that were peeling? Because I know when we walked through, I think they were talking about a low sheen product
Yeah,
versus the high gloss.
We would let that sit for a little bit. Roy, I'd like to see that hold up with the students back in full numbers so that we can see how it holds up.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Jim.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we can move on to.
Wasn't there some discussion a meeting or two ago about I know we talked about moving the dumpster pad, and I guess the trash company think not a good idea, but are we still talking about moving the dumpster pad a little more forward, or paving in front of it, or cementing in front of it, or what's going on with that? Fencing around it?
On
I'm waiting-
Saturday, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, I was waiting, this was brought up on Thursday's meeting. I'm waiting to hear back from Malone and McBroom about the feasibility of moving it forward and if that impacts, if there would be a retaining wall still or not, or if they can move it forward. So I haven't heard back from them on that item yet.
We also looked on Saturday when we were all there, not all together, because that's why we keep having these conversations about who said what. We broke up into two groups. Came up with the dumpster pad, if it can be moved forward, but then also pushed if you're facing it a little bit to the left.
Okay.
That give I don't know if that's doable, if it's moved forward and then pushed to the left, would that give the company picking up the dumpsters a little more room to be able to negotiate picking it up, a little more room as far as bringing vehicles into that roadway? And if it's forward more, I think it creates a better situation as far as the slope behind it off onto the softball field.
But as we talked about on site on Saturday, this whole issue came up in order to ease that slope down to the softball field. And so that's what Joe's saying, that he connected with Malone and McBroom to find out if that's true. So first, I think we need to look at if moving the pad forward does relieve that slope issue, and then can we actually access the dumpsters if the pad is moved forward? The other thing, though, Joe, that I don't think I mentioned to you when I talked with you about this is one thing we noticed when we were out Saturday, those dumpsters are small. I think we also might have Malone and McBroom re-examine the actual size of the dumpster pad.
Okay.
If that plays into how it can be relocated in that same general area.
Right. Yeah, they have the dimensions now. So.
Okay.
I think Bob confirmed that those are the size dumpsters that are going to be there on a regular basis. They're not going to get larger. They're not going to get more of them.
Okay.
That might help.
Yeah.
Trying to find a place for them.
Good point. Okay, anything else? I mean, if you do have other things, obviously we would entertain them, go back to them, but I think we could move to FF&E, et cetera.
Can I just make one comment, Nance?
Sure.
I gotta say, looking inside the gym, that's definitely the crown jewel of that school. It looks absolutely phenomenal. And I can't wait to see it when the stage area is all done. But it really looks great. I think a lot of people are gonna be very happy with that and how it turned out. That's a kudos to everybody on that one.
Yeah. Well, and I think we have to say overall, you know, we're going around Saturday and other times we make lists of things that we have questions about and lists of things that are not completed and things that have cracks in them or whatever. But overall, we got some great spaces there and in both schools. And I thought it was great to see pictures of and video. Obviously, Dr. Carver showed us video of the kids outside playing on the ground. They've been
Oh, they
waiting.
got out there?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they did.
Yes,
Awesome.
they did. Both schools. So we'll have to send some photos. That there were photos up on a couple of the different school Facebook pages. So I think they had a blast and they're going to enjoy it as much as they can until it rains or snows again, and they might have to wait a little bit. So yeah.
I just want to comment, the Rockwell gym floor looks absolutely great. Wait till you see that.
Yeah.
That really looks good.
So they made some progress. They made a lot of progress on that since what we saw on Saturday. Good. Good. All right. Anything else before we move into FF&E, et cetera? Anything on that we need to look at or know or?
Just a couple of quick updates on FF&E. We had the last furniture vendor in Selco was in there today assembling, unboxing and assembling things that had already been delivered. So we think that we're done with all of the furniture deliveries and installation, and we're still working through punch list. We have to arrange for Perkins Eastman to come back and do a final punch list of the furniture, but I think that that's all in really good shape. Technology, we have monitors still to be installed, but they're primarily in areas where we need changes, where we had asked for changes to electrical or, in areas that are still under construction. So that's kind of plugging along by ESC. Wireless access points are complete, probably to about 75%, but things like the exterior boxes and some of the interior wireless access points are on hold. We're waiting for some corrective work by Ferguson on how they terminated the cables. They don't fit into the wireless access points properly, so we're waiting for some corrective work there. But I think from talking to David Airy, there's good coverage through the school, so so far it's not an issue. It's primarily on the exterior locations, which were an add in any case. Same issue with the camera system. There are cameras are up, cameras are recording, cameras are accessible by the monitoring system, except for some areas where there still are some connectivity issues because of this termination issue with the plugs not being as spec'd and not fitting properly. So we're waiting for some corrective action from Ferguson on that.
Can I ask about that? Because we had our meeting with ESC today to go over the camera system, and it actually went very well, I thought, Bob.
So that was for everybody, that's training. So training has started on the surveillance system. Yeah.
Right. I guess when is Ferguson going to do this work? We're always waiting for Ferguson.
They're still arguing about doing it. So D'Agostino is still going back and forth with Ferguson. They keep coming back and saying, first it wasn't the spec, and then the spec was wrong, and the pieces that D'Agostino is telling them to use won't fit. So it's still kind of going back and forth in a negotiation. I don't know where it's at right now. It's back in Ferguson's court to provide what was specified.
But I guess that's not an answer. And Geraldine, I appreciate you don't have the answer, but I feel like with Ferguson, that's all we're doing. At what point do we just say no and somebody else does the work? Because it's ridiculous.
What we'll do, Dr. Carver, is similar to the issue Bob had with his controllers. We'll take a look at that tomorrow, and we'll let you know. We'll be prepared for Thursday as to whether it's something we can have somebody else do, or maybe that, and I don't know that there is, because I haven't looked closely enough at this. Is there merit to what they're saying, or are they full of hot air and it's just time for us to move on?
Well, so there's quite an email thread back and forth with D'Agostino, even with Nick suggesting some alternates that would be less costly than going back in and re-terminating every plug. So I do think it's a question of, or it's what Christine says, we need to either move or move away, because For a while, ESC was replacing those terminations, but they stopped because it's not in their scope. When I think they
Right.
stopped when they realized the extent of it, right? So we do have another avenue to get this fixed. If you can
Okay.
do the same thing as you did before and give the 3-day notice, and then we take it from their scope. So,
And that's what I'm thinking, Geraldine, and we can put that into play tomorrow if that's what that is.
okay.
Yeah, because it seems
This-
like Jim, it's
this-
been going on for months.
Just a point of interest, ESC can do that work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what Geraldine is saying, right?
Yeah. And so while they're still on site, we would have them do that as
They're
well.
much more pleasant to deal with, for sure.
Yeah, and then Gerald, just so you know, only because we had the meeting today, we just, and Bob, I don't even know if this is important, but we did ask them, because we want our SROs to look at all the cameras and the angles of the cameras to make sure that we have good coverage throughout the building.
Right.
But they said there's still an opportunity to do that if we need to. So how quickly does that have to happen?
What?
It might even make
Carver?
it sense. Well, remember, like we said, we wanted the SROs to go through and look at all the camera angles,
Right.
coverage.
Well, I just got an email tonight. They want to know, give us, Dave and I are to give them some, couple of days
Okay.
that we can sit down and label each camera. Okay, so I just emailed him back with my availability. I'm sure Dave will do the same thing. And then once that, then that'll also be the input the SROs have too.
Okay.
But if there's cameras still missing, which I think there are,
There are.
we're gonna have to keep the door open on getting those onesies and twosies changed too, if they have to be moved or adjusted.
Yeah, which we can do. I mean, the ones that aren't in were either in areas where the construction was lagging or some outdoor areas. I mean, we know that there are still cameras that have to be brought online. So,
Yeah, we had a couple upside down. So
okay.
So with the FF&E, I saw an email about the land and the card being put in. It's in progress, or cards. The local access network.
Oh, you kind of cut out, but I think you're talking about the land cards in the alarm panel.
Yes.
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 So
Yes.
United Alarm did do that work. And so we're going to, and we have, I think tonight we have an invoice from them, or if it didn't make it in time, it would be next time. But I think the process we're going to go through is ask you to approve the invoice, pay it because it's your vendor, United Alarm, and then use that documentation to send back. Rizzo will use that to back charge Ferguson for the work that they were not able to complete.
one other thing too, Geraldine, they owe us a drop, a computer drop
Yeah.
from the panel.
Yes, so we know, I think, yes, we know that there's a network drop missing. I think we were gonna check and see whether in fact it was missing in construction or missing on the drawings. So, but we'll get that back in. We'll get that in. I think the only other outstanding item, and I'm hopeful we can talk about it under the change order area, is the lobby guard / Raptor visitor management system. So in each vestibule, was intended to be a kiosk that visitors would scan their own license. It checks the databases. It says, yep, they can come into the school. It prints out a badge. It's sort of a hands-off thing that you don't have to have a security person do. What happened is that at Johnson and Rockwell, ESC, it would have been part of ESC's scope. They didn't include it in their bid. So in one sense, that was their mistake. When we found out that, to back up or to go sideways a little bit, the system that was specified was a lobby guard system. In the meantime, while the project was going on, lobby guard was bought by Raptor, So we went through a whole nother little exercise a couple of weeks ago, led by D'Agostino, to look at whether we still wanted to go with those lobby guard pieces, even though now they're called Raptor, and Raptor is going to be servicing them and installing them. And, you know, what were all the features that D'Agostino had originally suggested and that school wanted. So we met with Dr. Carver, with Bob. Nick D'Agostino kind of led us through a whole thing. He provided even some promotional like video on how they work. So the end of that long story is the district did decide that they did still want to go with this product, and not only put them in Rockwell and Johnson, but to also add them to the other schools. There was for a short time, there was some question as to whether Raptor would sell through ESC, our vendor, to install them, or whether they needed to install them directly, sell them directly to the school. Again, that all kind of got hashed out. ESC can purchase the product and can coordinate the installation. So we asked ESC to provide a proposal for all 5 schools in the district, which they did, and they broke it up so that we have the cost for Johnson and Rockwell, which we will take out of the project, and then the district will have the cost for the other schools. We already, in the process of speaking with Raptor, we got a quote from them directly. So we know what the actual product costs, which was good. Because when Nick went back to ESC and said, hey, but these 2 kiosks in Johnson and Rockwell were supposed to be part of your bid, he was able to use that as a little bit of a negotiation. And to be fair, they didn't include the product. We could lean on them heavily and say, you owe us that because it was in the spec. But honestly, if they had included it, the price would be higher, and the technology accounts came in under budget anyways. So our suggestion from myself and from Nick as consultants would be to entertain a change order for the product, but ask ESC to heavily discount their installation markup because they screwed up, and because we're giving them this extra work on the other 3 schools. So posted in the shared drive. I honestly don't remember now whether I circulated this information or not, because it probably was late coming in. But I'd like to, under change orders, look at those costs and talk a little bit more about the cost of installing those Raptor kiosks in the vestibules.
We're waiting for some paperwork on that, like change actual orders.
Well, I do have them. Let's see. I actually posted all of them. So I have here the visitor management for Johnson and Rockwell. You can see on the screen, it is it's a total cost at each school of $4,630. Now, Nick tells me that this is actually the actual cost of the product with only a $350 installation charge from ESC. So that's, that would be their sort of their give back, that they reduced their installation charge for the system at Rockwell and Johnson. So $4,630 at Rockwell, $4,630 at Johnson.
And this was done as part of the school projects and not wait till the other schools are done?
Yes, we can separate it out, but they could do them all too. I mean, here's actually, then it's $13,890 to put them into the other 3 schools.
Right. So Nancy, what we would do is, almost do it concurrently, hopefully, almost do it concurrently. So while they're doing the installation at Johnson and Rockwell, we'll make the transition at the other 3 schools from the current system we have. I think what Geraldine's trying to say is that they didn't put it in their original bid, and it's a system that we have to have. So it's not like an optional system. Do you want to entertain, and I think their installation fee was a very minimal amount of this money. Do you want to entertain?
That's what I'm saying, is that we know what the product costs because we happen to have seen the direct Raptor quote.
Right.
And so I do believe that they did give us a concession in the installation fee for these 2 products. At the end of the day, you are well within your rights to tell them they have to install them at no cost because that was part of the bid scope. But honestly, D'Agostino also didn't notice in their scoping and their recommendation to award the original technology, the original security package to ESC. Nobody really realized that this wasn't in their scope. So my recommendation is to pay them for the product and as a change order.
Okay, and does that,
I have a question.
That was sort of my whole spiel, so we can decide whether that's a, you know, whether you want to do that now and authorize.
well, we
it.
could, well, do we have a change order for it, or is that not a change order yet?
Well, it is a change order in that, well, it's not going to look like a construction change order because this is one of our own vendors. So this is their
Right.
quote to provide the services. And if we give them the authorization to go ahead, they will go ahead, and then you'll get an invoice later for this amount after they're done installing.
Right,
Can I
okay,
ask
so,
a question?
yep, go ahead.
I'm reading here, it says annual renewal software access fees paid by the Bethel School District. Will we get one free year with this for Rockwell Johnson, or we have to pick that up?
There is the original, yes, I think that this includes the first year. I have to go back to that Raptor breakdown, but as I recall, it was like, I don't know if it was $600 or something.
Okay.
It gets up, and this gets you up and running for a year, but the annual software update, you know, contract.
It's just,
and-
basically it's a subscription to that,
Right.
that database. Yeah, okay.
Exactly, but if you remember from that meeting, there is a subscription to use the software, and then there is also a cost per school. I guess it's part of the subscription. It must take into consideration schools where they have more than one kiosk, right? There's a set fee for the location in order to bring the information there, and then there's an additional fee on a per kiosk basis to run the system, something like that.
So if our, as you said earlier, Geraldine, the FF&E was under budget, is this get covered by that, or is it?
Well, yes. I mean, I guess conceptually, technology was considerably under budget, and this is one reason why, because it was missed in the, you know, in the original contract. So yes, at this point, though, it is a matter of, like everything else, it comes out of sort of the contingency or the leftover money at this point, of which there is plenty at Johnson and less at Rockwell. So.
Because did you take the, when you were working on the tracking budgets, did you take the extra that was in FF&E and put it in contingency, or is it still over?
Yes. Well, yes, back when we awarded all those contracts, we zeroed out the extra in those lines and put it in the
Okay.
contingency. But you can still
Okay.
see on the budget how far under we were at.
Right.
So
Yep.
it will just
Right.
be a little less under
Okay.
when we apply these.
So should we just go ahead as you suggested and take care of these now?
I think that would be great. Yeah, since I've already made my spiel.
Anybody have any?
Quick question. For like the ink and the labels, do we have any idea what that's going to be as an annual cost? I mean, 1,200 badges seems like that's not going to last very long with the amount of people going in and out. Out of curiosity, does anyone?
We have a system right now, Dave. It's just that it's just a different software program that's running the system and the printers.
Gotcha.
So it's something that we already budget for. Am I wrong, Bob or Terry? He's trying to talk.
You're right.
He's muted.
You're right, you're right.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Okay.
and in fact, we found out that the printers that they put in the proposal are the exact same printers we currently use. So it's not even a different printer service for them.
Excellent. Thank you.
Geraldine, I have a question with the $8,000 extra on ESC's budget here. What was the next closest bidder? Was there a big difference between ESC and the next bidder originally?
You know, I don't recall, Rich. I don't recall. I'd have to go back and look at D'Agostino's notes on their recommendation to award, but I really don't know. I'm guessing, well, I don't know.
I was just curious.
It is a really good question. I think that, you know me, I don't like to give when we don't have to give,
Yeah.
but I don't. But I do think in terms of the cost, we're just really paying for the cost of the software from Raptor and those pieces for the most part, and the equipment.
Well, so we can discuss further, but I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal from D'Agostino Associates to install, this is for Rockwell, install at Rockwell School to provide the Raptor Visitor Management System in the amount of $4,630.
I'll second that.
I got a couple of Dave Olson and Roy seconding. So now we can discuss further, even though we've probably already discussed it enough. But please bring up questions or comments before we vote.
How do we get an answer to Rich's question?
I have to go back to, I don't even have those records. So I can go back to D'Agostino and find out what the bid results were for technology for I think this was in the security package. So we can go back and find out what the results of the security package bidding was and provide that to you.
Would we want that information before we go ahead with this? And that's question 2.
No, Nancy, I don't think you want to hold the process up. I mean, there are vendors right now, but I was just curious to see, what the difference. Hopefully the difference in the bids were more than $8,000, I'm sure, but I was just curious.
I'll get the information and circulate it.
Right.
In any case.
Okay, that would be
Thank
good. Anything else from me? We're going to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is anybody opposed? So that one carries. And then we'll do the,
Johnson is the same amount.
so is it not, it's not D'Agostino Associates, then it's ESC that we're awarding to.
It is, it is ESC. D'Agostino.
Sorry.
They put D'Agostino on.
They were sending this to D'Agostino. Sorry, I missed the top part of the other one. So Kathy just kind of figured that out. So I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal from ESC for Johnson School for a Raptor Visitor Management System in the lobby in the amount of $4,630.
Okay.
Dave Olson and Dino both second. Any other questions? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Done. All righty.
Okay. And on that same line item, playgrounds. So obviously the playgrounds are in use. During the distribution of the mulch, one of Earth Mover's pieces of equipment must have backed into the seesaw and damaged it. We may have reported on this before, but Ultiplay has ordered replacement parts. They are due to be delivered next week, and they will schedule a repair of that piece of equipment as soon as they can after they get the delivery. And then that piece of equipment won't be roped off any longer for the kids. Now, that also, no, I don't have the invoices yet. That will also be a change order, which we can talk about under change orders. Because again, much like we were talking about the land card on the fire alarm system, we are going to ask you to approve the invoice for that replacement playground equipment, but Rizzo has already provided us with a change order credit that they are assessing against earth movers for the back charge for that repair work. So we'll do that under purchase, under change orders.
So with that damage to the playground equipment, was that something that they knew they damaged and they brought it up, or was it just discovered in?
It was discovered during the playground certification inspection. So no, it's not like anybody owned up to it. We had to,
Great.
hey, this equipment's damaged, who did it, you know?
Yeah. And so was it specifically earth movers delivering the mulch, or was it some contractor of theirs delivering mulch?
It's only, we don't really know. It's supposition. Ken had at one point suggested that it was well, I think we're sure it was earth movers. They were the only ones out in that area, but that they had some large trucks dumping the mulch, and then they probably had smaller equipment distributing it, but the mulch had to go in after the playground equipment. So just how it happened.
They're accepting responsibility.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know, Ken, are they accepting or are you assessing?
Yes, they have. They knew that they did it, and they are accepting the back charge.
Okay. So then we could move to budget review.
Yes, we can.
So there are updated tracking budgets. This is Johnson, and it is, actually this is as of mid-December, after the last meeting where invoices were approved. So we are currently tracking the total project at Johnson at about 87% completion and construction at 91%. And at Johnson, we still have about $1.7 million in contingency remaining. And if you look at things like the CM contingency, this is since it's mid-December, this is pre-current requisition that we'll look at today. So that number's no longer valid, really. And at Rockwell, similarly, we are invoiced out at about 91% of the total project and 92% of construction. And we're currently we've exceeded our contingency by about $400,000 at Rockwell, which always takes us to the combined project review.
So I have a question on the two. Since the state approved the additional amount for Rockwell,
Yes.
have you moved one from the one side to the other yet? Or
So that tracking on this, we see that on this tabulation. On those tracking budgets, we are always tracking the current budget against the total project budget, not against the state's project budget.
okay.
Here is where we start to look at moving money.
Mhm.
The first line is our revised overall budget. Now this shows a transfer. It doesn't show the transfer, but it shows the end result of transferring $936,233 to Rockwell. So Rockwell's overall approved budget has been increased by that amount, and Johnson's overall budget has been reduced by $936,233. That is the total amount that we requested the state increase their reimbursable limit for the grant. So they're going to assess the 45% reimbursement on that increased budget for Rockwell, potentially a decreased budget at Johnson. Now, the second blue line here shows where we're really at on the budget. So the budget currently for Rockwell is $26,654,000 and some hundreds. So you'll see that we are still exceeding the state's approved reimbursable budget, which means that there will likely, potentially at this point, but likely be some money that is not reimbursed by the state, even with that transfer of funds. At Johnson, we're still tracking under that reduced state grant allocation. So at Johnson, we're currently looking at a total budget of $39,634,300. So again, we have tried to assess potential change orders that we know of, potential change orders here in this middle part that we think are still coming in. I had at this point included the current additional services proposals from Perkins, Eastman, and from STV. And then we still are carrying some reductions in some areas that we believe we are not going to expend all of those budget line items. And then recognizing that we are below, that we have exceeded the contingency on Rockwell, but we still have a significant contingency at Johnson. Looking at the two combined schools, we're looking at ending the project potentially with a little over $800,000 left in contingency. So $800,000 under budget. And so I guess to go back to the question about the increase in the state allocation, it doesn't really affect a lot of what we're doing on the two projects together. Where it's going to come down to is on the reimbursement requests that Terry and Dr. Carver submit every month or every couple of months. At some point, we're going to reach a limit on what we can ask them to reimburse on Rockwell. It potentially, there is a potential that there still could be, it looks like about $900,000 or $1 million that might not be reimbursable.
So obviously, like you said, for Rockwell, there's money that is not reimbursable. And if we don't exceed, the amount at Johnson, and that's just sort of like right now you see 813. So the 813, we don't spend that. That's obviously not something that can get moved. I mean, it can, for the town, it can get moved over to help balance the Rockwell budget, but we don't get for it.
Right. So I guess another way to look at it is that we were always going to expend all this money, right? This is what the project is going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
By getting the state to approve an increase in the Rockwell approved budget for reimbursement, that $936,000 represents potentially about $400,000 worth of reimbursement that we would not have had they not made that increase in the Rockwell reimbursement budget. But we were still going to expend all this money. So at the end of the day, it means the town should recoup from the state another $400,000. But combined on the two projects, we still will be in a good place because we'll be under the total budget that the town allocated based on the referendum.
Good.
Is that making it better or kind of making it more confusing?
No, I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of two different things. The projects are going to cost what they're going to cost. And as long as we keep both combined under the $65,831 that was approved at referendum, then we're in good shape. The more we can push into reimbursable at the state, the better for the town.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that statement because the referendum was two things. It was the money and it was a amount of reimbursable funds. So if we're not getting all the reimbursements we are expected, are we truly hitting the referendum's comment or objective?
Well, the way a town is required to do their referendums for school building projects is to commit the total amount of the project as the town's responsibility. And then what you want to do though is manage within that as much as possible reimbursement. So, so a combination of being able to shift the money that we were able to shift and get more reimbursement there, and then to not fully expend the whole 65 million are both positives for the town. So at the time of referendum, you give an estimate of what you think the percentage reimbursable of eligible costs, because you always talk about it in terms of eligible costs for reimbursement. There are always things that the state deems ineligible also as you go along. But we gave at the time the most fair, taking into account that we thought there would be ineligible. We gave the best estimate we could as to what would need to be bonded at the end.
And just to piggyback on that, the grant amount or the budget amount that the state approves happens so early in the project. The grant approval comes based on an estimate prior to the drawings being completed, prior to the bidding being completed. So the GMP, which is one reason why the Rockwell project exceeds the budget, is because Rizzo got that GMP as low as they possibly could by going out multiple times on some of those trade packages. It still exceeded the estimate from probably 2 years prior to that had to be put out for the referendum in order to get the whole process started. And as Terry said, there are things that are just never reimbursable. And hopefully they make up enough of that $1 million difference that you really do get full use out of the approved state budget. You know, for one thing, the bleachers are not reimbursable. They're just not. No matter how many bids you get, you know, but there were also some services, some professional services early on in the project that weren't competitively priced, so they come off the top. They're not reimbursable. And as we go and submit change orders to the state, even there are some things that they disallow on those costs. So so we think we are maxing out the amount of costs that will be reimbursed by the state. It just realistically was never going to be exactly 45% of the full project amount.
And I think we used an estimate of somewhere around 40 or 41% as the net, as really the net reimbursable estimate.
Correct. I mean,
When we talked with bonding council and the Board of Finance and everything up front, because you know that 100% is never eligible for reimbursement.
Correct, but we sold this to the town saying that at the end game, the town would only spend X number of dollars. You know, it wasn't $65 million, it was 65 million minus what we had anticipated we're going to get reimbursed by the state. So my question is are we hitting that number?
I think we're going to be very close to that, Dino, if I go back and look. One, because an awful lot of this project is eligible for reimbursement, and especially with the shift of that 936,000, but also we're not even going to extend the entire. So at the end of the day, I think we're going to be very close to what we told the state would actually be the local cost of the project.
So Dino, is your question more like the work of the referendum? We going with the actual wording of the referendum? Because there was the question that was on the ballot, but then there were parts that weren't on the ballot because you couldn't fit it that said, I mean, basically, like if we didn't get, because we had, I believe we had the referendum before we got approved for the state being a state project, and that if that didn't go any further, we didn't have to keep going. So there were other little parts of that sort of referendum, sort of the question, but I don't even know what word I want to use. I'd have
Yeah, there were contingencies because of
right.
it so early and because the state was in a fiscal crisis themselves. And so the Board of Finance wanted some contingencies. And along the way, we met those requirements. We would not have moved forward to bid the projects unless we had met those contingencies. So we went back, made sure we met those. And then the next objective is to make sure that we are maximizing as much as possible the reimbursement of the state so that what we actually go out to bond, because the bonding is what puts the responsibility of the town for its part of the payment.
Right.
So that we have worked very hard to keep that as reimbursable as possible. And that's a lot of the discussions along the way where we would talk about, are we making the 6 months for our cutoff for our change orders? Like there were a lot of pieces. Now you're never going to make you're never going to get 100%, but you're trying to maximize all along the way. So early on, when we knew the GMP was higher, right then and there, we went back to the state and said, it seems that related to abatement was going to cause us to go over. And they had kind of given a gentleman's agreement then to come back with those numbers. But wait till near the end because we only will make an adjustment once. So
No, I'm not
numbers and we
questioning
went back now. Yeah.
anyone's work and what they've done. I think everyone on your part, Terry and Christine, done a lot to keep this thing going in the right direction. But again, I also know that the townspeople seem to have a very good memory of what they thought they were told and have a way of coming back and reminding you of that.
Sure.
I think we're going to be materially accurate with that. I think we have tried to keep it within as close as possible to the estimates of what the final cost of the town would be.
And I can actually put together some numbers that show where we're trending. Because on all of these reimbursement requests that Terry and Dr. Carver put in, there's a tabulation of what the state has deemed ineligible against what is eligible, right? Or what we're expecting to be ineligible against what we're expecting to be eligible. And I can run those numbers down, especially on Rockwell, using the 45% reimbursement. And as Terry said, kind of backing into backing that expected reimbursement into the total project budget, even understanding the total project budget is going to be over. And just on a rough calculation right now, I get 43%. Even if we take out the ineligible stuff, but still run the reimbursement. So I could put together some more analysis on that for the next meeting to show where we're trending on reimbursement against the over and the unders. So.
Okay, great.
In terms of the financial, just to give you a little more background, in terms of the financial pieces of this, the state, even when they agree that they hold back 11% of every project. And they hold back the 11% until the project is done, closed, and audited. So the final cash flow back to the town won't happen until it's audited. And that's why all this paperwork is extremely important. And when we do wrap up the project, we have to roll right into final financial filings with the state and trigger that audit. Because they used to hold back 5%, and now they hold back 11%. And that's a big nut to the cash flow of the town.
Yeah.
Now, town of Bethel is quite healthy, especially in its fund balance, but it's a lot of money, and it's important to me to make sure that the town controller has what he needs, so that all gets final close out, and the town gets the rest of the money at the end.
Hey, Terry, you want to just throw out that sometimes it takes the state at least 10 years to do a final audit.
Well, it won't take that this time. It won't take that this time. So we're pretty current with everything, and he is.
Well, they don't have a good track record.
Now he is finished, so that final paperwork can then be filed, so that then it can trigger getting us in line for the audit. So that's why this final wrap-up schedule does become important also, because it's the work and then it's the paperwork.
And I will just say that Terry keeps such exceptional records that, you know, that's why they love her at the state. We will have no problem with documentation when it comes to that audit.
And I do remember too, having discussions, not just in commission meetings, but as part of some of the public meetings that we had, where we can't keep saying that we're going to get 45% back, we're going to get 45% back, because that number, as you've all just explained, fluctuates. And some people may remember that, some people may choose not to because the 45 stuck in their head. And but I think all the different explanations that have been put forward can be, you know, put together pretty succinctly and explained to people if needed. And I'm remembering, as Terry said, that, you know, saying, all right, it might be more like 40 to 41%, but if we end up at 43, that's great. Even if we end up at 42. So any other questions on this information before us now? And that, Geraldine, you said this does not include PCOs that we might be doing today, or
So
in there?
there's only two well, it doesn't, I did this document before we got those Raptor prices, so that's not included here. But it does include, there's only two construction change orders that we want to look at, and one's a credit. So, so it does include, all the other information here is updated.
Okay.
And those change orders are, so at Rockwell, we have one change order that is a change, an increase in cost. You might remember this same change order from Johnson last month. This is change order 110 at Rockwell. It is to field modify classroom cabinets. Again, the millwork was put into fabrication because it was so extensive, put into fabrication, you know, based on some basic field measurements and the drawings, and many of the cabinets had to be modified in the field to either kind of drill out for conduit that was running down the wall, or adjust for steel structure or other chases that were in the space. And so there is attached to this change order a list of all the places where a piece of millwork had to be routed out or, you know, otherwise modified. And in all of those cases at Rockwell, it totaled $2,847.60. And again, there's a time and materials documentation for this attached.
Okay. So is that change order 110?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve proposed change order number 110 for Rockwell School Field Modify Cabinets in the amount of $2,847.60.
Second that.
So Roy seconds it. Any questions, comments, etc.? Okay, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I need to hear it if you are. Okay, that carries.
At Rockwell, we also have a change order for that cost of repairing the seesaw and the playground equipment. So this is change order 111. Attached to this are the quotes from Ultiplay for the components and the work, the half a day of installation at Rockwell to do the work. This is a credit change order because that backup is being used, as I said earlier, to back charge earth movers for the work. So This reduces their contract amount. We pay the invoices, and that's how it all settles out. So a credit in the amount of $5,067.99.
So I'll make a motion that we approve proposed change order 111 for Rockwell School for replacing, it's not repairing, right? It's replacing damaged playground equipment in the amount, a credit of $5,067.99.
Second.
David Olson, second. Any other questions, comments on this proposed change order? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
And
Carries. Oh, what?
I was just to say, and just, this is a quote, so keep in mind, we'll be seeing this invoice actually probably in February if they do the work at the end of January. So we're getting the credit on the construction contract now. We'll pay the bill probably next month.
Okay. And we'll pay it. It won't be, it's a credit, but we pay it. It's not part of the, it doesn't change the GMP, or it does change the GMP?
Well, we're reducing the GMP with that credit, and then we are balancing out, not the GMP, but the total project budget when we pay the invoice directly.
Okay.
We also have one more change order. It is not a construction change order. It is our security vendor at, no, which school is this at? Joe, help me out. It's Johnson, I think. Is Joe Collada still on? I hope.
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
So this was at Johnson, right?
Recluse and leaves at doors.
This is to relocate the card readers into the admin office.
Yeah, I think there was one, I think that's Johnson. Hold on, I have the Johnson.
Yeah, I think it's Johnson. So the drawings indicated card readers. We went through a little security exercise again with D'Agostino about controlling access to the admin offices. When someone comes into the secure vestibule, and then they can only enter the school by going into then the admin area, and then from the admin area they go into the school. There was some discussion about how to handle a potentially dangerous visitor. Do you want and how do you want to handle access to the admin suite? Do you want to have the doors locked from the outside of the admin suite, so you need a card reader to go into the admin from the school, or do you want a card to get, or do you want to have the doors secured going out of the admin suite, so that if somebody came into the the admin principal's office and got excited and were considered to be dangerous, you don't want them to be able to just go into the school. You want to have a card reader there to get them out of the admin office. And I think, gosh, Joe, so how is it supposed to end up?
I think it ended up that the admin door is locked from the lobby.
Right. So
Right.
it prevents so if the school is being used by the public, for instance, the doors are locked, you can't get into the admin offices from the school without a card to swipe. At Johnson, the arrangement was the other way. The thinking was that you would want to contain, and keep people safe, keep the school safe from somebody potentially in the admin area and not let them out into the school. I may be confusing this whole issue, but at Johnson, we needed to move some card readers from one side of the door to the other in order to maintain the correct access control. And it's for $750.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve this proposal from ESC for Johnson. We hope it's for Johnson.
I'm fairly certain it's Johnson.
And 101.3 and 101.2 are definitely Johnson doors.
Okay, for moving card readers in the amount of $750. Wilson seconds. Any other questions, comments on this change order?
And again, this is a quote, so we'll see the actual invoice later, but this authorizes them to do the work.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Then that carries.
And that's really all we had for change orders this week.
Okay, what are we, you had showed on your tracking, or not the tracking budget, but the combined budget comparison. What are we looking at a large amount of possible?
We are still looking at some potential change orders. So you will see on the change order log that at Rockwell, there are still about $21,800 worth of change orders that we are negotiating, contesting, asking Rizzo to provide more information or reduce the cost of. And at Johnson, it's like 46,860. So
Hey, Geraldine, I
Yeah.
think that might have been for Rockwell.
oh.
Sorry, it took me a while to get the drawings open.
Okay, sorry. I know one school had the correct arrangement and one school did not. So this was to make the changes at one school. So you think it was Rockwell?
Thanks.
Can we
so, 'cause
confirm that and then have Kathy have it reflected correctly in the minutes?
Sure. So confirm, that was ESC, right?
Yes. So for instance, at Rockwell, we are still negotiating some change orders having to do with, well, we all know the electrical feeders are still out there. At Rockwell, there's,
I do have an update on the electrical feeders for Johnson.
oh, good, okay.
Conversation with Ferguson, so you let me know, we can discuss that.
Let me just run quickly through Rockwell and then I'll
Sure.
switch over to Johnson.
Sure.
So at Rockwell, we're still looking at some soffits, some intrusion system changes that we're waiting on Ferguson. And then I think this chain link fence thing is going to go away. At Johnson, we have a few more pending before we get to the feeders. At Johnson, we have some ductwork modifications that we are still negotiating. And also, again, some work on the phenolic panels or some of the metal panels that are outside. In a lot of these cases, the assessment from the design team was that either we needed more justification for some of these costs or just reduce them because they seem high. And then added chase someplace where the labor was too high. So in all these cases, we send these change orders back and ask Rizzo to go back to the subs and revise them or provide us with the backup we need to understand why the costs are where they are. I think there's a few things that have been out here for a little while, probably got caught up in the holidays and the rush to get this last phase under TCO. So at Johnson, we're still looking at electrical feeder proposed cost of $99,700. So Jim, what's the update there?
So there's been a couple of back and forths with Ferguson, and again, I try to keep the lines of communication open with them because at the end of the day, we want to try to avoid some sort of a claim with them. There does come a point where it's got to be reasonable. So right now, they made an offer tonight of $78,400 to settle the Johnson feeder issue. Again, Carol, I've been playing it the same way. You and I have spoken about. The school is at zero. Let's see where you're at to try to settle this thing. I don't know that there's much more in there. Maybe it's the low 70s, but I don't think it's much more than that before at some point they, feel they have to do what they have to do.
So Jim, my only question would be, are they throwing numbers out there or do we know, or do they have backup for how they're calculating the actual additional work? I guess.
Sure. So we worked off of the 99 by going through the tickets with them and pointing out, their argument was that 99 represented only the additional work that they did. So we went through and pointed out on the tickets where they talked about areas on the tickets of, cafeteria or areas that would clearly not have been, it's just a length of straight conduit, whether it's in the cafeteria or it's in the corridor, it shouldn't matter. So that's how we talked them off of that and got them down to the 78.4.
Are you going to make well, I guess a recommendation or a formal change to the change order at some point so that we can actually ask the building committee to act on it?
Yeah, I can do that. I just wanted to get that information out there and, this way I can.
Well, it's going in the right direction, so that's good.
Thinking that in order to entertain a change order, we're going to want all that backup stuff.
Sure.
Sure.
This is Ferguson.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Is this work already done?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Some of that work at Johnson was done over a year ago. It was over holiday break last year, so.
That doesn't meet our definition of an acceptable change order, does it?
This
Well-
one has been an ongoing battle, though. So, I appreciate Jim, getting to a point where he is now. I think we're just going to have to make a decision.
And so that's what I'm saying. If we think it's our lowest and best, then we should put together the paperwork and officially address it.
Yeah. Jim, in your opinion, you think this is about as far as we're going to go?
I think there's a little more in there, Roy, without, and again, Gerald, I'm not just throwing numbers around, but I think you probably get them down into the low 70s, maybe 70 even, but I don't think there's more than that. I think at that point, they walk away and they take their chances.
Okay, and if it was that way, Jim, would you recommend that we come back with a number such as that, a 70?
I would, yes,
Okay, so we keep the ball moving and see what the reaction is.
exactly.
And that's what I think too. I think if we get the documentation, then we can as the project team do another exercise of looking at those quantities and the time, and as the owner, we can come back one more time to Ferguson and say, well, we really think so Rizzo's gotten it down as far as they can.
Correct.
Now either the engineers or the owner's side, someone's going to look at it and say, well, how about these other few things? And that might be the best proposal or the final proposal.
Geraldine, you have that 99,000 encumbered into your numbers already, right?
I do. Yes, I have the whole 99.7 in there. Yep.
So if we do settle for a low number in the 70, that's a little to the plus for us actually in the big scheme of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Geraldine or Jim, is it ethical for the commission to just make an offer that we would settle for $69,000? That's it, period. And that would be 30,000 under their original request.
Well, my recommendation would be that we try to tag that additional reduction in cost to something real, not just giving them a number to negotiate. You know what I mean? So I would like to see the backup, and I'd like to see if we can pull out an additional, say it is an additional, $8,000 or $9,000 or something that we can justify. I think it's easier for them to accept if we come back and say, well, here are some other things we don't think we should pay for.
I think that's worthwhile. I just don't want to put Jim in an awkward position at this point. I think, if he's comfortable where we are. I'd like to move it forward pretty quickly, so at least we can get it resolved at this point.
And are you still looking at Rockwell with that same situation, or is Rockwell kind of where it is? And
I really have been focusing on the Johnson one with them, again, trying to drive that number down.
Yep.
Independent of the other, because I think that's the right way to deal with these guys. You know, and then I would then apply that logic, whatever it is, percentage, whatever it is, over to Rockwell. And I think Rockwell, honestly, is cleaner because you don't have all of the you know, vertical changes that you did at Johnson. So, you know, I feel a stronger argument on Rockwell than on Johnson, but you know, and Geraldine, I hear what you're saying, and at some point it becomes a discussion for settlement purposes.
Right.
And certainly I can do what you're asking. You know.
Well, I think if nothing else, we should just run through that exercise one more
Yep,
time.
I don't have a problem. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, why would we accept their last offer without at least looking at it? Maybe we look at it and say, okay, you know, like at Rockwell, it's $19,900. It's $20,000. Maybe we look at the Rockwell backup and say that makes sense at this point. But we look at the Johnson backup and ask for a further reduction. I don't know. I would like to look at the numbers.
Sure.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Roy? Would you be interested in having a little meeting down in and look over some of this paperwork?
Yeah, I don't mind.
I would join you, and you know, maybe we could look at it a little bit and just, you know, it seems excessive. The 99 definitely was from changing it.
You would have loved the 225 when they started.
Yeah, it started at 225. I think one thing that if you do want to look at the documentation, we could kind of set up for you where it started and what the very first claims were about changes, and maybe look at this final proposal in that context, you know.
Yeah, in fact, I think that might be helpful, Gerald, and you know, and Gerald and Jim per se, to come up with a couple items that you think there's some wiggle room with, and then at least, you know, our committee could come back, you know, with those proposals.
Sure.
So it's a little bit separated from the discussions that you've already been through.
so, Rich, are you suggesting you and Roy get together with either Jim or Ken, or either through Zoom or at the field office to look at paperwork that they have? And
Yeah, or some type
Rich,
of,
I know they've gone a long way on this, so, you know.
yeah, from 225, that's a big number. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has gone a long way on it. So, you know, but I'm very willing to, you know, take one last shot, because I do think, you know, your approach to take one more bite at it would be a good one also from our committee.
And Jim, can you have them document or diagram what their original proposed route that was not feasible to begin with was, and indicate linear footage? And
I think they did that at some point along the way when they were at the 225 number. I think they gave a drawing. I'd have to look. That's been a while. I can look at what they gave us.
I don't recall that, but I just
They
remember
had done a drawing showing you know, assumed contract versus what they had to do. That was pretty early on. We could dig.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember the spreadsheet that had a large number of errors in it that got them up to 225.
so that would be a good comparison to have too, not just numbers, but, you know, sort of an idea of what route that they were looking at using, and if they stuck with that route, how did the numbers change?
Well, that's the whole point, is that they're claiming a greater quantity of piping, obviously, and
Yeah.
and cabling. So that was part of what we were looking at.
Okay, so you guys, if you want to all look at that at some point together, you'll make arrangements to do that with each other?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. The boiler room, I think, is
Next, yeah.
How did I get there? got switched. The boiler room, John Menti, can you give us?
So, talking to our friend Malcolm Beeler, he's ready to go with the RAP, but he needs to, as part of the submittal package to the authorities, is that signed agreement letter from the town of Bethel. And I sent you yesterday, I think yesterday, Nancy, or today, the boilerplate one.
So I need to put it on town letterhead and have Marty and Matt look at it or something?
I mean, it's very simple wording. I would give it to Matt first to see what he thinks. And he may say, okay, but if he feels uncomfortable, then he can go to Marty with it. But it's just basically saying that we're going to agree to do what the RAP is documenting and saying.
So he might want the RAP, that report too.
Yeah, you can print that out and give it to
I'm
him.
not going to print anything. I'm going to send it to him electronically.
Whatever, yeah, email him.
All right.
Yeah, and it's basically saying that that the
So you can be in touch with him and tell him about that and all, right?
yeah, I can take it.
Go jump right on it.
Okay, I will take care of it this either tomorrow or Thursday.
That'd be great. Because I kind
And
of
I'll
think,
copy you and everything, Nancy.
right. And if he doesn't feel comfortable signing it the way it is, I'm sure he'll have Marty look at it.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Like I said, he's ready to go, and he's been in verbal communications with the people from the Fed and the state, kind of giving the heads up. And he said the verbal feedback he's gotten is like, okay, like it's kind of a routine type of thing. So let's go from there.
Okay. Sounds good. So, next. So next on the agenda is just trying to find everything. Additional services requests. And everybody was, I received, we had asked Perkins Eastman to separate theirs out into two for each school. One for the time frame that we had originally been looking at, and one for the time frame going forward after the schedule was not, construction was not substantially completed, etc. And so Joe did that and sent that to me, and I forwarded it to everyone, and I believe it was also in the documents that Geraldine sent out.
Yeah.
And then we also have the proposal from STV, which went out with all the documents on whenever you sent them out, Saturday or Sunday.
Yes.
Because the original STV proposal was one lump sum, wasn't divided between the two schools. So the official proposals that they sent out divided between the two schools. And then just last night, we received something from Rizzo, which I read and haven't had time to completely digest. I don't even know if that got included in the documents.
Yeah, I don't even think
I did not go back on the town website to see if they got posted or not.
and I did not post them.
So we can't really,
yeah.
Just in general, I would say about Rizzo, I think we're going to need more information, but I don't know what, because like I said, I need to go through it more and digest it more. So I actually have a question for Joe Collada with I think, I don't know about Rockwell, but, or definitely with Rockwell, looks like your amount is higher than what it was originally with what you gave us.
Yes, I believe it included, did we extend it out another month? We went to 5 months instead of 4 months
Right,
to bring Rockwell to the end of
right.
May,
And
or end
so,
of April.
right. And so, is that for Johnson also?
Yes, both, we went from 4 months to 5 months.
Okay.
Based
again,
on
it's-
the adjusted schedule that we had received in between the two proposals.
Right. And now, it's an amount not to exceed still, so,
Correct.
but based on the schedule, it's probably safe to say, to do that.
And it's still hourly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, our subcommittee did meet, but basically we didn't have the divided STV one to look at. We had a general idea of what the divided Perkins Eastman ones would be, just because based on your original amounts. And again, the Rizzo ones, we still just got them, so can't really do much with them. So I would actually like to, I'm going to make some motions so that we can get more discussion going on these. And I save them in a way where I can share them on the screen. So hopefully you look through them, but I will read the amounts, etc. I am going to start with Rockwell and Perkins Eastman. So I just want to make sure I'm doing the right one. Okay. So I'm going to make a motion that we accept the proposal from Perkins Eastman for Rockwell School for extended construction phase services in the amount of not to exceed $35,000 as per their proposal for the extended period of time, December through completion anticipated May 1st, 2021.
Second.
So that's a second from Dave Olson. So can we have some, as I said, subcommittee did some discussing, and I don't know if any Roy or, well, John Byrne is not here, but Roy or David have any input on this that they would like to bring up for anybody. On others, if you have questions, please let us know. So this is for the additional going forward, basically going forward from beginning of December through beginning of May.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's it.
Right, and hopefully that's it.
Don't run into any more issues with COVID and stuff like that that pushes it out.
Let's make sure that's it. So anything? Yes?
Yeah.
So can we vote on this then? Oh, Rich, you have, yes,
Quick question.
sure.
Is this just for the extended period of time? You haven't settled on the other time, the extras that they were asking for. Is that correct?
Correct. This is, so what we asked, so we had the original proposal for starting in March
Right.
2020. And again, that was a proposal of a not to exceed amount. And then the with the obvious having to extend the schedule, the proposal that Perkins Eastman gave us, we had two, one for each school, but it spelled out each amount for the two different periods. But we asked to have two proposals for each school for the two different periods. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I
Okay.
understand what you're doing.
So this forward. We're still doing the other parts or looking at the other parts. So any other questions? Can we vote on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? That carries. So I have to figure out about getting that signed. So now I'm going to do the same thing for Johnson, except don't know if yep, I got it. Actually, it's worded differently, Joe, than the Rockwell one. It's not extended. It just says supplemental.
Oh, yes, I missed that in the
Yeah,
three, but it is extended.
in the cutting and pasting.
Yes.
Maybe you could just change that, but I'll save.
I'll update that for you.
Yes, that would be great. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve the proposal from Perkins Eastman for extended construction phase services for Johnson School, covering the period beginning of December through, so go beginning of May, yes.
Yep, May 1.
Yep, and in the amount of not to exceed $75,000.
I'll second.
Who's the second? Dave, John, or Dave, okay. So again, same explanation, et cetera. Any other questions, comments, et cetera?
There's that much work at Johnson that still needs to be done by them? Doubling this?
So
There's
again,
a lot of closing out the project, Rich.
Okay.
it's a not to exceed amount. And if
Yep.
typically, I don't know if Joe wants to, there actually is quite a bit at Johnson, which includes site work, et cetera, which I think we all saw Saturday when we did our wander around. And it's also a larger to begin with.
Yeah.
So
I was questioning double the amount for the same period of time.
well, there is, Joe, I don't know, Joe, if you have any.
Yeah, we've typically been spending double the amount on Johnson as we do on Rockwell. So these numbers are based, actually looking at the numbers that we did from March to November and estimating it out for closeout as well.
That actually brings up a question. So if originally when we were talking about, and I had this conversation too, actually, Geraldine with Scott Pinkney, and looking at having to complete a lot of things, there would be a more concentrated period of time where we would be completing, where I think, Joe, you'd be much more engaged, and Geraldine, you would be, and Matt would be, et cetera. And then there would be, I don't know whether we get into March and April where there's not as much time needed on the job because we're doing more punch list things, et cetera. But I'm kind of not seeing that that's going to be the case. Is that?
Well, I know I'm still hoping that that's the case. I mean, if we can really substantially complete construction by the end of January, then punch list does necessarily, on all of our parts, there's a little bit less hours, there are fewer hours, a little bit less effort through punch list. Then we expect that we will return in the spring, as Joe said, to do the site work. There's not going to be any site work going on until the weather breaks, so potentially March or April. So there'll be sort of an uptick in activity there as we're monitoring the completion of the site work. And then again, the rest of the closeout really is sort of, again, as a reduced effort where we on the design and the owner's side are accepting documents from the construction side and, and just verifying that as-built are correct and all of the documentation is there for the record and the warranties are in place. And then we'll do a little bit of work with commissioning when they come back to commission the cooling system, potentially in June. But the hours, they will vary as we get back more active in construction areas, or as we're just doing closeout paperwork. And then in the case of what I expect our services to be, some remaining review of invoices and state reimbursement requests and state change order documentation, and some of the interaction with the state will proceed, but at a much lower pace than we're doing now. We will at some point stop having our weekly meetings in the field office, and at some point we hope that we might not be seeing you all twice a month either, that there will be some reduction in the hours that we're expected to spend as we close things out.
Obviously some of the stuff you were talking about for you, you, Matt, STV, are things that were part of what you were supposed to be doing anyway. So that's not extended. That's more part of your original contract.
That's true, but I will say that it's, and we're kind of, now we're overlapping, but it was part of our original contract that we would already have been into at this point.
Got it. Yeah.
So as I tried to explain in my proposals, the last time we submitted an additional services request, the current schedule said that the buildings would be completed at the end of September. And,
right.
and in that case, then again, our services would have reduced slightly because we would have just been monitoring site work and punch list from October, November, December, now January. But as the total construction period extends, we're in a more concentrated effort, and Perkins Eastman, we're still doing all that same construction administration that we had been doing a year ago. We haven't really reduced into that punch list, close out, tie up the loose ends, do the paperwork for the state. Those hours have already been absorbed in the construction work that we were monitoring. So now that closeout period gets pushed forward at this reduced rate.
Okay.
So.
And Joe, you would be expecting the same, where hopefully you're reducing at some point.
Yeah, that's been the hope.
Why we have the not to exceed amount.
And I think we've seen it a little bit, but I think should be greater. But we do have punch listing. All the consultants need the punch list.
Right. Okay. Any other questions, comments for Joe on this proposal? So let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we got everybody, anybody opposed? So that carries. So Roy, you can help me with the other two, which are the original ones. I think were still concerned about budget and wanted to see what was going on with the budget, the most up to date. I know it's something you've carried in the comparison budget there, Geraldine, yet.
Yes.
With other proposals, et cetera, change orders that were anticipated, we were getting really nervous. So we chose not to act on, we're choosing not to act on those right now, yet we're going to meet again soon and look at those. Right, Roy? Is there anything I'm missing?
That's correct. We really want to keep the project moving along, and as we're taking care of all the current expenses as far as additional time, etc. But these original ones we really wanted to further discuss.
Right. So then I not really sure then since. And unfortunately, Geraldine, we just got yours over the weekend. I don't know if everybody's had time to digest and want to deal with it, or do we want to have those quickly, looked at by the not quickly, but reviewed by the subcommittee before we go anywhere with those? I'm looking at all of you. Any input, please?
I'm not going away, so,
I know, nobody's going away, but we're trying to figure out, do what's right, do what's fair, etc.
Well, and to that end, to do what's fair, I think that my proposals probably do require or should have the same sort of review that you were able to do for Perkins Eastman. And
Right.
since my boss isn't on the line, I can say, just deal with them next time, you know?
Are you sure you didn't sneak in here somewhere?
You know.
She might not have a job next time. She might not.
Yeah, I don't want them to think I'm giving away the store. But
Yeah.
as I was describing earlier, I mean, ours has my proposals have a sort of a tabulated fee matrix where I think the hours should go. And it does show that, you know, it does show different sort of phases for a lesser time period that would be in closeout or just dealing with paperwork versus an active on-site presence again. So but I'm comfortable having the subcommittee look at it more in depth in the next 2 weeks.
Our subcommittee is going to be a little busy, very busy with all these different proposals. As I said, I did go through briefly reading the Rizzo proposals, and I have already started formulating questions, and I'm hoping I can't bring them up right now just because I didn't write them all down. I don't know if anybody has questions on the Rizzo proposal, if you were able to look at that. Just like I said, we got it last night and it got forwarded to all of you last night. And again, you just put it, so anybody?
Tell you the truth, I just started looking at it now and I haven't even formulated any questions yet.
Yeah, I mean, we just got it. So I think we're going to have to review it, and we're also going to, I think, probably need a lot more information. So does anybody have anything they want to bring up on any of these right now? We'll put together a time with John and Dave and Roy to get together, and if we think we have questions to ask of anybody, Joe or Geraldine or Rizzo, we'll make sure that we have a time that we can, you know, ask you to be a part of it and answer our questions, so that then we can bring complete information back to the. Okay, anything else from anybody? So Joe, you're going to get me that updated, and
Yes.
I'll get that dealt with. And then next we have invoices. Right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And there are quite a few.
Yeah, I have a whole stack of them.
So what is your feeling about the Rizzo application for payment?
I feel that the 100%, if it's the one that you sent to us.
It is not. Well, so I sent versions earlier and they were updated. And then today I received revised requisitions that did back out all of the, for instance, here we are, did back out all of the general conditions cost. Well, yeah, all of the general conditions costs that we talked about. So for instance, this is and I posted them, but I know that, again, because they came this afternoon, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at them and whether you're comfortable. I mean, well, yeah, I see Joe shaking his head. I mean, I don't even think Joe and I haven't even talked about this.
So, but did Joe sign them?
Joe has not signed them.
No.
Okay, then I don't think we can do them.
Okay.
I think they need to be checked by you, checked by Joe, signed by Joe, and then we can do them.
All right. Then we're on to just regular invoices.
Yay. Just kind of start throwing some up there. And
all right, let's take the easy ones. IES.
okay. And I do remember now that I think I picked these up in the mailroom and they probably never got to Kathy right before Christmas or right after Christmas. So I'll make a motion that we approve invoice number 15427.
26.
Oh, where are we? Johnson.
Yeah, sorry, I put Johnson up first.
26.
Actually, they both say Johnson.
You're kidding me.
That's,
It's invoice 26 on there.
I see that. I have them both.
No,
So,
well, I have a Rockwell and a Johnson,
huh.
which you sent me, so.
Maybe I'm missing a page, or I'll do the ones that I'll have to see if I have that one. Because I have two for Johnson. And because if I'm going to sign them and give them to Kathy. Oh, okay. So this is what they did. So these are the ones I sent you. There's 2 pages, one for each school. One is from the original contract and one is the extended or the additional services.
Oh.
See, there's 2 different amounts. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, so what do you got up?
So I have
27?
the Johnson
26.
regular
Okay.
services.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we approve the invoice from IES, invoice number 1546, for Johnson School for regular services in the amount, this is a period ending in November, in the amount of $3,100.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then the next one, which is also Johnson, is 15427. And it's for, again, period ending end of November for additional services. And the amount is $330.75.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Done. Okay, so then the Rockwell ones. Make a motion, we approve the invoice from IES, invoice number 15424. Again, for Rockwell School, period ending end of November for regular services, $3,140.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then again for IES, invoice number 15425, period ending end of November for additional commissioning services in the amount of $367.50.
Second.
Dave Wilson seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Next, just start throwing them up there. Smart Care.
So Smart Care. So this is an invoice for a service call at the Rockwell Kitchen in September. Now this had, I think, may have come up at a previous meeting. There were some issues with kitchen equipment that should have been referred back to the project contractor to resolve, but instead the kitchen staff called their regular service folks to have the equipment looked at. So I don't know.
But I thought we already did this one.
Well, I think at the last time we brought it up, we sent it back. Either Bob volunteered to pay for it or we did not deal with it. But Terry sent it to me again and asked if we could please review it. So again, this is something that was probably unnecessary because the equipment was not even punch listed at that point, and in any case would have been under warranty, and whatever was wrong with it was the responsibility of the construction project. So I don't know.
I know we talked about it, and there was something about it that, because I have another invoice in here somewhere for it, that we brought it up at a different meeting, and I think it might have been, oh, they didn't, I don't remember, because the invoice I have for that one looks different than this one. It had the school on it, so it didn't have the school on it.
Sounds like it was the wrong regulator involved from the get-go.
Well, right, and so it should have been,
Right, but it is a problem that would have been solved under the contract with the kitchen supply vendor.
Right.
There actually wasn't, I don't know that there was even a resolution that that this maintenance vendor could even come up with, but they did make a service call. So, you know, we can cover it under the project, or we can just send it back to the district and say it's not the project's responsibility, that the staff called, you know, their regular service folks for this issue. So.
what was the reason that Terry gave it back to you?
I wish she was still on. I don't really recall.
Okay.
Only it hadn't been, you know, it hadn't been paid, and maybe they're still debating, you know, whether it's their responsibility or not. But I think it is. I mean, I don't think. It's the kind of thing where we could pay it under the project. I don't think it's, you know, there's any big impact. It's $750. But technically, this is not a project cost. This was a misunderstanding by staff.
I agree.
So I think we can hand it back to them, and then if they push back more, we'll make.
Fine.
Okay. What's next?
STL.
All right. Yep, that's what I got next on my paper.
This is for Johnson.
So I make a motion that we approve the invoice from Special Testing Laboratories, invoice number 34895, in the amount of $680.
Second.
Second from, I think, Dave Olson again. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And I make a motion that we approve invoice from Special Testing Laboratories, invoice number 34896, in the amount of $1,000, just for Rockwell School, the amount of $1,120.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
Perkins, Eastman.
Okay, there's a whole pile of those.
Yes, they are. So we're going to start with the basic construction administration, you know, their basic services, construction administration services.
Okay, so and that's Johnson. So let me get to the Johnson pile. So I make a motion that we approve invoice from Perkins Eastman, invoice number 68962.00.0-34 for Johnson School in the amount of $9,582.91.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
Let's see, also for Johnson.
There's an FF&E one, and then there's, okay, I make a motion that we approve the invoice from Perkins Eastman, invoice number 68962.01.0-16 in the amount of $10,280.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. I am hoping that if you have questions or whatever, you jump in. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep on going. So do you want to do the other Johnson ones or do you want to do the Rockwell ones?
Yeah, I thought we'd run through the Johnson one.
Okay. So, I'll make a motion that we approve invoice number 68962.06.0-1 for Johnson School for the retaining wall. This is for design services that we approved for that in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
Dave seconds, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed, done. Then the site work,
Site work, yep.
washer, dryer, okay. I'll make,
Site work, yep.
yep. Make a motion that we approve invoice from Perkins Eastman number 68962.04.0-2 for the Johnson site work in the amount of $3,593.75.
Second.
Wilson seconds, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed, done. More Johnson.
Washer dryer.
Yep. So I make a motion that we approve invoice number 68962.05.0-1 Johnson School for the washer dryer in the amount of $1,600.
Second.
Dave Wilson seconds. All in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, done. Now I think we can do Rockwell.
Yep, Rockwell.
Regular,
East
yeah.
Construction Administration.
Yep. So I make a motion, we approve invoice from Perkins Eastman, invoice number 68961.00.0-34. Rockwell School Construction Administration in the amount of $5,767.52. Dave Olson walked away. Who's gonna?
I'll second that. I'll second
Royce.
that.
Roy seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Now we got Rockwell FF&E. Yep. Make a motion that we approve invoice for concealment for FF&E, invoice number 68961.01.0-15 in the amount of $5,500.
I'll second that.
Dave Olson's back. I think Roy seconded it too.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then the washer dryer at Rockwell.
Where's the washer dryer? Here's the washer dryer.
Yep. And then I make a motion, we approve Perkins Eastman invoice number 68961.05.0-1 Rockwell School washer dryer, $1,600.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done. All right. Connecticut Communications.
Whoops, where'd I go? Here we are. Connecticut Communications, yes. Let's see, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, why are there so
Which one
many?
do you have up?
Yeah, I'll just pick one. I'll find it.
All right. For Rockwell 19920 TP.
That's the 540, yeah, okay, so I'll make a motion to approve invoice from Connecticut Communications, invoice number 19920 TP for Rockwell School in the amount of $540 for telephones and things like that.
This was for an additional, we already owned, or the district already owned the telephones. They wanted to add 3 telephones. It was a change order approved a couple of months ago. This is the invoice to just do installation. We didn't have to buy new phones.
Okay. So, did somebody second it? Can somebody second it, please? Okay, we can't go home unless somebody seconds it.
You'll
Yeah,
do.
I
think
guess,
Dave did.
oh, all right. John Menti did, but he's muted. I can see him waving. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Throw another one up there.
Johnson School 18092.
All right.
Again, this was for some additional, this was for the additional phones in the reception area because they could not share due to COVID separation.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve invoice from Connecticut Communications, invoice number 18092 TP-A for Johnson's.
Second.
$1,084.
I'll
John,
second it.
everybody seconds it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. The hell's all this?
Now, this was Connecticut Communications, sort of their base contract to install the phone.
Right, but, all right, so can you, so what amount are we paying? The 10,000?
We're paying the, yes, we're paying the 10,000.
Okay,
This confused me at first too. I had to go back and look, but they required a deposit a year ago when they signed the contract that I had never tracked. So apparently the town had paid a deposit with the purchase order. So the balance due is the 10,836, and I did adjust the records to indicate that we had already paid them $25,284. So.
okay. I make a motion that we approve invoice number 2018.26 TP from Connecticut Communications for Johnson School in the amount of $10,836.
Second that.
I think that was Roy that seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. We got a couple more. See Connecticut Communications.
Yeah, so again, this is the same thing at Rockwell, where they were paid a deposit of $8,170 a year ago when we signed their contract, and the balance due now that they're complete is $3,502.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve Connecticut Communications invoice number 26.0375 TP in the amount of $3,550.
Second that.
Roy seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And there should be one more, or no?
No, not for Connecticut Communications.
Oh, okay. I have one,
You do?
but it's old. I wonder if it's,
Can you just let me know what's the number on the invoice, and I'll check and see.
okay, it's for Johnson and it's 18092 TP-A. And the amount is $1,084. And I have that we approved it in October, but I think we had already paid it before that. The end of October is,
That's the same invoice number that we just
That.
approved.
We just did that.
all
Yeah.
right, so, but the amount's different or no?
No.
Nope, same amount.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I had it back then, we approved it, but you still needed to check into it.
All right, so I should check and see whether this in fact had.
No,
been-
I'm remembering we didn't, because Kathy didn't take it from me.
Okay,
I think when I brought it at the end of October, she said, no, that's not something, you could check it, but It is a duplicate of that one, and there was something about it. I can't remember. Kathy said something like,
It may be that back in October, we approved that change because the staff was asking for those additional phones.
right, so
And
right, because it also has attached to it like a sort of thing signed by Terry.
right, a work order, yeah. So that
Yeah,
was sort of
okay.
the change order, and this now is now we're gonna pay the invoice based on that.
Right, but I have an invoice attached to it too.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think their quotes look like invoices, but I'll just check and make sure that that hasn't been approved
Yeah.
previously.
I don't think it was, but
Okay.
all right. And then we have ESC.
Yes, ESC Rockwell Security.
Yep. So I'll make a motion that we approve invoice from ESC, invoice number 1186774, the amount of, current amount to $8,550.
Yes.
Second that.
Roy said, any questions? All in favor? Done.
Aye.
Dave's going outside or something.
They went outside.
Oh, okay.
The dog was barking at an elephant in the woods.
Oh, okay. You take a picture for us? So then we have a whole bunch of them from Insalco, right?
Yes, and that was pretty much everything that they finished up in December over the break, and then the last assembly was actually today, so. Let's see, Johnson,
Yeah, there's one for Johnson and 2 or 3 for Rockwell.
yep,
Okay.
yep, shelving, so that's what they were assembling today, so.
Okay. So I make a motion that we approve invoice from Insalco, invoice number 9097 for Johnson School in the amount of $1,593.10.
Second.
Second that.
Everybody seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Done. And Rockwell.
Let's see what this one is.
Yeah, that one has a bunch of pages. So
Yes, so, and actually, this one's from May. I don't know where this one got lost. I didn't have a record of it, and this is for furniture that was actually installed last spring, so.
And it's not something we've done already.
We have not done it already. They asked about it, and I went searching through all of my records, so I didn't have it. I didn't have it to even update a budget. That's how I know that we didn't approve it previously.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve the invoice from Insalco, invoice number 8848 for Rockwell School in the amount of $13,964.89.
Second that.
Roy seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. There's 2 more for Rockwell, right?
Yes.
Make a motion that we approve the invoice from Insalco, invoice number 8849, for Rockwell School in the amount of $1,532.44.
Second.
Dave seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Last one for Insalco. Make a motion we approve invoice from Insalco, invoice number 9096 for Rockwell School in the amount of $1,593.10.
Second.
Dave seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then we should have 2 for WB Myers.
Yep, these are the last 2 move invoices from from work done in November, the very last moving of things from the middle school back to the each school. So this one's Johnson, $1,400.
So I make a motion we approve the invoice from WB Meyer for Johnson, invoice number 220-017578 in the amount of $1,400.
Second that.
Roy seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then I make a motion that we approve the invoice from William B. Meyer for Rockwell, and the invoice is 220-017-579 in the amount of $1,828.
Second.
Dave seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
So those two invoices close out any move obligations. So I may, for the next meeting, look at moving the balance out of those line items, again, back to contingency, because at one point we had asked you to increase those budget line items and they way overestimated the number that the amount of money they would need.
So that would go back into contingency. That would be excellent. So there's,
Yeah, and this is one of those, so this is an example, no move costs are reimbursable for the state ever. So they don't care if you're building a new school and you're moving all in, or whether, or you're moving around like this. This is an example of an ineligible cost of the project that they were never gonna reimburse.
oh, okay, that's good to know.
I think that's it for invoices.
That's it for invoices. That's it kind of for that part of the agenda.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions, any input, anything for our school projects? We have, everybody's got a few things that they have to do. I know that I'm getting an updated proposal from Joe Collada, and he's also going to get something to Kathy. I can't remember what though. Kathy, Joe knows. They both know.
I do. I got you the proposal already. Already emailed it to you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
But I don't recall what I'm supposed to get to Kathy. Kathy, did I miss something?
Wasn't there something that?
Yeah, you're gonna clarify the
Oh, Rockwell. Yeah.
Oh,
Rockwell
right.
or-
Yes.
Yep. Rockwell Johnson. Yep.
Right.
Okay.
For that.
All right.
Yeah. Why did I write that down?
And then,
Here it is.
yep, Roy and Rich are gonna work on getting together to look at the electrical feeder thing.
Yep.
Our subcommittee's gonna get together, and Thursday's the OAC meeting for anybody who to be a part of that. Geraldine will send out the info.
They will.
Anything else? Anybody on this? Oh, Ken and Jim are getting us an updated schedule,
Yes, they are.
right? Yes, they are. Okay. We would appreciate that. And then they're also going to get us an updated application for payment.
Good.
We're done with school stuff. Don't anybody go away, because Dave can go away, but everybody else has to stay because we have a little
Thank you.
update on
Good night, everybody.
that. So good night, school
Good night,
people.
everyone.
All right.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so Geraldine's gonna stop her screen sharing.
I know, I gotta find, now I'm missing it because it's, yeah.
I know you have to like tap on things to make it get
Oh.
back there so you can get rid of it.
Let me just quit Zoom. There we go. Bye.
Bye. All right, so it's just us now, and we have a few things to do. So for the police station, I've been bugging people, and I haven't gotten as much of an update as I thought I would. Downs was out there this week and the week before. They fixed the roof leak. They actually fixed
Good.
two quote roof leaks. The one over the conference room, which has that exhaust fan, which I don't know if I can find that and bring it up as a, is there a way I can, they sent a picture and I don't remember if I forwarded it to you, but yeah, I'm not going to spend the time looking for it right now. So they put, Chris Baldwin wanted to they explained what the issue was. So there's an exhaust fan that sits on the roof, and there's also a grounding wire that goes through the roof. It's all gooped up with tar. And the picture that they sent, it looks like the actual housing of the fan, the exhaust fan, is all gooped up with something. And I'm like, what's that about? They kind of took some stuff apart and found a piece of flashing that was short. And so they installed more flashing, put it all back together, tested it with the garden hose, and it didn't leak because they tested it beforehand with the garden hose and it did leak. And then they put the bollards back together. And what was going on with the bollards in the back was they fixed the bollards in the front, they anchored and put the longer anchors in. They did the same thing in the back, but when these were just the light bollards. When they put the light bollards back in place and put the set screws in, the set screws didn't engage. I don't know why they didn't check this because they're all wobbly. The set screws didn't engage in the place where they're supposed to engage. Now they went back and it's Ferguson. They went back, they redid it. It's all fine. And then Chris Baldwin asked for photographs of the repair of the roof part to make sure everything was installed properly. They sent him the photograph that I was explaining, and I haven't heard from Chris Baldwin whether he's going to accept that or not. So we still don't have the CO. We do have an application from payment from them, which I actually asked Marty, like, should we pay it or not? Because basically it's, what I'm not sure of, I mean, I could put it up there, but it's a large amount owed to earth movers, which they're done. They did their work, they're done. A large amount, smaller amount, but like $11,000 owed to Ferguson. And then smaller amounts like 2,000 here, 2,000 there owed to the drywall people, HVAC, whatever. They're all done. And then there's an amount owed to CT Masons, 2,500. So the question is, and I think we're going to have to consider this and also maybe ask some questions. Like I said, I did ask Marty, if we pay them, it's like $75,000. If we pay them so they can pay their subs, because like I said, last time I got a phone call from Eddie Killian wanting to know where his money, it's Downs that needs to pay him, not us. But he should be paid because the work's done. If we pay them, the only amount we owe is there's the 2,500 being kept in retainage for CT Masons. There's also $84,000 left in contingency. If that contingency amount, it's the construction contingency because our contingency is long gone. If that construction contingency remains and it's part of the GMP, does Downs just get it at some point? Because if it's $2,500, they're going to walk away. If it's $84,000, they're not.
Right.
The letters that Attorney Robinson has sent to Downs about the firing range, because we're looking to get a CO on the main part of the building. Forget about the firing range, separate building permit. The two letters that Attorney Robinson sent to Downs have not been answered. So we're not really sure what's going on there. However, the issues that Becht brought up about the firing range roof and the way it was installed, they proposed infrared testing of the roof to make sure there wasn't any water infiltration, and that was done last Wednesday. So we haven't gotten a report on that yet. Hopefully we'll be getting that soon. So that's kind of where we also got another copy of the invoice for Jakunski Humes we owe them $10,000. And I'm kind of holding off.
Hey, Nancy, that's separate from the 84,000, or was that all part of that?
No. We owe Jakunski Humes is separate. So 84,000 that's in contingency is part of the GMP.
Right.
That's the Downs, that side.
Yep.
This is a software for architect. Yeah. So it's not part of that. So he did that last year too. He sent it and sent me an email and demanded we pay it. But again, we're trying to if we're still trying to figure out why the firing range is an issue, then I think we need to maybe hold off on that a little bit, especially if we haven't gotten the CO yet.
Well, didn't the reports reflect that they found no design error?
That's my feeling. And I mean, if you want to pay the bill, we can pay it.
I'm just throwing it out there because if there's no design error that the third-party engineering companies have indicated, what grounds do you have not paying him?
Hey, John, I'm not too sure that that first report that was there that they did, actually, there was some reference in there that about, you know, there could potentially have been a design error on that. So, you know, there's kind of conflicting. I hate to, you know, I mean, since it's in litigation now, I think we'd be better off to try to get a read from Marty or the other attorney as far as which way we should go with this.
Yeah, somebody at some point needs to make a decision as far as on the legal side of things.
Right.
You know, I mean, we're not attorneys, we're not lawyers, and you know, I played one on TV once, but that doesn't count. But you know, we need to move this along. It seems like it's dragging.
Right. And so there's, I think it's like a sort of balance kind of thing where Attorney Robinson, representing the town of Bethel, could say he could say, nope, sue their asses. Or he could say, you have really nothing to sue for. But I think this first step is that they want to get Downs to do something to make the firing range not leak.
Right.
So if it means putting, one of the things that they did suggest in their report was not the sealant, like that latex sealant that both Downs and the National Consulting Group put forward, or Hoffman and National Consulting put forward, but another type of, it's almost like sounds like a stucco. It's called I can't remember what it's called. It's something that you can put, I'm going to look in my email and see. Something that you can put on a surface, but it lasts like forever. I don't know if any of you that work on lots of.
Nancy, I didn't see that one. I don't recall seeing that.
All right, so it's not in, I don't think it's in the report.
Okay.
It's in the second letter that I sent, where, and I think I forwarded it to you guys. It's the second letter from Robinson to Downs, and it talks putting, let me see, I think I sent you the letter. It's called EFIS. It's a, looking through all my emails with Marty. Yep, here it is. And actually I might have it on the flash drive. Basically says that the exterior installation finish system. So basically it's, I think I've looked it up. I don't know if it's something, I don't think it's something you blow on. I think it's some, several steps above putting that clear, or not the, you know, that kind of.
Yeah, it's just a seal.
It's supposed to last for a really long time. I don't know if it's like a drive it kind of thing or something. I don't know if anybody's ever.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I looked it up at one point. I don't know if it's like a stucco sort of thing, like not stucco, but like something.
Drive it. I haven't heard that in many years.
Well, that's an old, I don't even know if drive it still exists. It's just, I was.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But anyways, that was, anyways, I'm not going to spend time looking for it, but that was what the second letter said, which I think I forwarded to everyone, was proposing that Downs do this because it would create a lasting sealant on the exterior. And then I think they were out there when the infrared thing was being done on the roof. They were also going to take some of the blocks and do some testing on those. So that's where we are with that.
I kind of think we ought to just hold a little until we get a better read from the legal team, which way
Well,
we should go, right?
Yep,
You know,
that, and I want to get the report too. As soon as Matt said, as soon as he gets the report, and he and the Board of Selectmen digest it, they'll forward that along to us too. In some ways, we can't do anything about the fire range right now because it's like the Board of Selectmen has taken that from us.
Right.
We can deal with the main part of the building. We can, get the CO and to or not pay the invoices that they gave us. And John, you had something?
I was gonna say, do we have any idea on what it would cost to put this coating on? And secondly, are we gonna get stuck paying for it, or is that something that Downs will have to pay for?
No, the letter says, I'm going back there now. The letter says, after discussing the matter with Becht, the town is pretty much convinced that the only way to make the facade impervious to water infiltration without being required to apply and then reapply sealing material every few years is to install an exterior insulation finish system on the existing split face block walls. However, before we can take the next step, we asked and expect to create the necessary design documents for the system. We would appreciate and very much need your thoughts on the matter. And in this regard, sooner the better. And then he goes on to say, I sent you a letter in November and you didn't reply. This letter was sent to them on December 24th. So I can't imagine that with the holidays, they might not have gotten it to it right away, but they could have gotten to it. Anything else?
Nah, Roy's right,
All
we
right.
can't do anything.
Well, we can't, we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to gather information so that we can do something and be done with it in my time.
If Chris gives the CO for the original building, and then I think we'd have almost an obligation to pay for the subcontractor's work that was done on that building.
Yep, I would agree too. I would agree on that too.
Again, because you're talking two separate projects now. You're talking.
You are, but the GMP includes the firing range. And
Right.
so paying that GMP amount, and again, I've got to go back and look at the contract and et cetera, or I asked Marty to, but in all his spare time, he probably wants me to do it. I got to find it first.
I could be wrong, but I think now this contract's going back a number of years now, but I thought that if there's any underage, Downs does not get it. I thought that was part of the deal.
I kind of thought that too. We kind of need because we went and spent some of that money on the blinds and the furnace that's in the
Right.
fire range and a few other things that we just did on our own, the little bridges that we had made.
Because you know that 84,000, if there's going to be any, the town's going to take that money and they're going to use it towards the firing range for whatever they're got to get done.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, so the only other item on the agenda is election of officers. And I'm throwing that out there partly, I think I need to, I don't know, Dino, whether you wanna, or do you want me to?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So Dino is choosing not to be reappointed to the commission, which I don't like because he's been a valuable member. He's always sees things that I miss. But that's his choice. And so the way the charter reads is that anybody whose appointment is up can continue to serve until they either or until someone is found to replace them. So the process of finding someone is going on right now. And that new person would have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. So Dino can continue to be a member and a voting member until we find somebody to jump in. So I'm gonna say that I don't want to see Dino go, but his choice. And I understand it because my appointment is up too, and I was ready to get the hell out of here, but I can't. So I made some promises to Dr. Carver and Terry Yansky that I'd stick around for a little while. Anyways, so we're missing one person, John Perna, as far as doing the appointment of officers. Do we want to wait till we have a full?
May I suggest that, I know that your term is up and Gil, and I think Dave's up, and Perna. And obviously Dino is going to be, I think we should wait till we do anything until we get a brand new, everybody's reappointed and put on in place.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I'll keep being chair, obviously. I won't stop, but if you want to wait on the election until, because I don't think the Board of Selectmen at their last meeting reappointed the people who need to be reappointed.
Yeah, they didn't.
Okay, that hasn't been done yet, so we can wait on that.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
I think you're looking to do it at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, I believe.
Okay, so Kathy, we'll just keep it on the agenda and we'll do it when we can. Thanks. And Dino, you'll keep coming until we.
Yep.
It's gonna, big shoes to fill, so that I don't think they're gonna find anybody to take your place.
Hey, David.
I don't know.
Two jobs, right? All righty, so I guess we need to, some of us need to make a schedule to have some meetings about, you guys gotta, if you haven't read that Rizzo thing.
Yeah, I printed it out.
Start reading it. It's just, I was reading it and I was like, who wrote this? It sounds like it was written by I'm not going to say it, but they're making it sound like, well, the delays and they're talking about in the letter, they call them CCDs, what, construction something days? I don't know, whatever. I was like, what does this mean? Is this a real word? Make it all sound like it's design or COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And in the part where they say, you'll see, I'm just going to say the one thing and then we can get out of here. Where they say that the school shut down and they make it sound like the shutdown and the COVID, and they were behind schedule way before that.
Yep.
Right.
I don't know. I'm more and more seeing then obviously the need to approve or the need to have STV continue for that time period. I think their amount is probably fair, but we'll look at that. I'm seeing more and more being sort of okay with an amount for Perkins Eastman. I don't know if we go with the amount they suggested, but I
don't know. I still have my reservations for those original amounts. And
well, and if we don't agree, then we give a proposal of how much we're going to cover. And
correct. I think we're moving forward very well with them. I think we've been totally upfront with them. We're giving them everything that they've asked for additional fees. I just think going back, it just kind of sets a bad precedent with everyone. And I think that kind of is a little bit why, we see kind of everyone hitting us on the thing like Rizzo. So it just, I just don't know if it's a good policy. And
Well,
I'm
and-
kind of from
and
the
we
school that
could-
we should wait till the end.
Absolutely.
And I think that we could, again, ask, and if we wanted to have them, Joe Costa, Joe Colada, Joe Colada is a lot more reasonable. Joe Costa's a little condescending sometimes.
Yeah.
What was there? I mean, I know they didn't do the proposal. There's another department that took care of that. But what were they thinking? Didn't they put forward, they've said, and mostly it's about Rockwell with all the abatement. And then there's, issues that came up at both Rockwell and Johnson, and then they blame a lot on Rizzo. But don't they put a contingency in also to cover those kinds of things that, the unforeseen circumstances and a lot of the unforeseen circumstances, yet don't they put a contingency in? So, yeah.
You would think so.
That's the problem. It just kind of opens up a whole can of worms, and I hate to get there. I just think it sets a bad tone for everyone.
Right.
I agree. I mean, particularly with Rizzo.
What was that, Dino?
Particularly with Rizzo. I mean, their job is to keep it on time.
I know.
Yep.
You're rewarding them for not doing their job.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing with PEA. It's they knew what they were getting into to start with, and since that date we've made them whole, and we haven't balked about any of their services. When they've come back to us saying that this is additional amount and what have you. So I don't know. I think we've been very fair about this, but I think we got to really. I think we should just sit tight until the end and really see where we want to go. My read of it is I'd prefer not to do anything with PEA, on that original amount that they had from the original contract amount. I still am uncomfortable.
No, I agree with you. When they come out with statements like, "Oh, we didn't realize that we had spent all the money."
Yeah.
That's not our problem.
Yeah. We could say that. Oh, we didn't know we spent all the money. We don't have any left to give you.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's chipping away at it. That's for sure.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the problems is they know is over $1 million in the contingency.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But to Dino's point, much of this is not reimbursable as far as some of these things.
Right.
So, it's a double-edged sword here. So
yeah, the architect is reimbursable, but if it's an extra amount for Rockwell, that's going to have to get moved over from Johnson.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also we have a timing issue with a lot of these now too, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, with some of the change orders that Rizzo didn't deal with in a timely fashion, those are going to be an issue that we're not going to get reimbursed for those.
Absolutely. So that's going to cost us money too. So.
Yeah. And that's another thing, the electrical feeders. I think that we're going to find that Rizzo's construction contingency is gone.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
For us to say, you pay for the electrical feeder thing because it's you're the one that effed it all up. There's going to be no money there to pay it. And so then we're going to have to look at paying it.
It's going to come over to us anyways.
Yeah.
I think when Geraldine gets kind of the final read on that, I think we got to somewhat, keep Rizzo whole on the thing. And, I feel pretty comfortable with Jim as far as him looking into it. So,
yeah.
My comfort level.
You have to look at too. Yeah. Like with the police station, when we realized, when Downs came and said, oh, we're not going to be done. And then we had to wait a month, and we had to wait 2 months, and we had to almost wait 3 months. And they wanted to charge us. They wanted to add additional general conditions into the, I can't remember, something like $15,000 a month. And we said, well, no, you are the one that created the schedule.
Right.
The one that's creating the situation where we can't get in there now, and you're not finishing things. No way.
And they said, okay.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
They're always gonna try to get some money out of you, so.
yeah. Yep. I don't think, I think we ought to be kicking and screaming, giving out any of the money though, that's for sure.
Yep.
Because if
Yeah.
if it looks easy, we got a problem.
True,
Yep.
true.
All right.
Okay.
Make a
Very
motion,
good.
we adjourn.
I second it.
That's good.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Yeah.
Night all.
Yeah, good night, everybody.